All right. Well, welcome everybody to In Frame. Ali, how do we say your full name? Ali Ahmed?
Yeah, Ali Ahmad.
Ali Ahmad. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Ali Ahmad is our guest today. Round of applause a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you for coming
There we
through,
go.
man.
Thank you, man.
Hell yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
You're our first producer, but more importantly, I'm really interested to hear your story. I think you have one of the most fascinating stories here in this game. Honestly, we'll just let you kick it off. Like, what's your story? Like, I want to hear it all. I want the viewers to just like listen to you. And
To me.
Get it off. And then we'll get into the riff of things. I'm sure we all got a bunch of questions.
It's funny when I said you should have more producers. I didn't mean me on set too.
It's funny. We asked some producers too, and they just declined.
Oh, so I wasn't.
We
his first
had
choice.
producers, and then we had others that were like vocally like, "Yo, put me on. I have something to say." And I think it's just a matter of the concept of the series was that it was. I think we were just trying to follow it literally, like it's an in-frame thing. So you get technicians, you get people that we do that mostly come in house, right? Like you have Genie people that talk to David, you have AZs that come in and check up here with Godfred. So in terms of how we wanted to approach it was like, okay, let's sit down and talk to like the technicians, but then it became a lot more grander than that because obviously the complexities of running a set and it's within the burden of a producer, of coordinators, of ADs. So now it's become a point where it's like, okay, we could definitely like start sprawling into that discourse with those people that work in those roles. And it's a lot more harder, I think. And also it's not like we were just talking about the glasses, about how you wanted to do a POV of what your day-to-day is. I think it's actually pretty fascinating because I don't know how you like visually make it seem cool that what a producer does, but it's more interesting than what you see all the time on sets because you're dealing with finances, you're dealing with talent, you're dealing with crew, but at the same time you're dealing with a bunch of different things that people don't think about it, like catering and where you're getting your rentals from. Hence, you talking
food
to us.
Is like its own department, bro.
So people are very serious about food,
Yeah.
right? Like people are very serious about the food that they get, and it's obviously that's a big factor because of the hours that it's put in. So it is very interesting, and it's cool that David had mentioned that like you guys known each other already beforehand. So when we were talking about getting a producer, he had mentioned you, and he kind of gave a preamble of like of what he knows in terms of your story. And we're like, all right, bet, like we should have him come through. So
I appreciate
the
confidence, my man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I think producers, you look at everyone's all their Instagrams, all their socials, like you notice all these like nice looking videos and all these things, but like it's a grind. And we joke about like, they're the world's most expensive PA. In reality, that's what they are, right? Producers will go up at night, go pick up Crafty at 3 a.m. because they need to do it on set the next day after being on a 12. They do a lot of the stuff that you won't notice. And sure, like it can be lucrative at times, and at times you lose money. So it's like there's a risk involved. I think it's one of the, above the line, below the line, whatever you look at, one of the only places that you can actually lose money on a line. Genie will never lose money, right? DPs will never lose money. Most of the time. You know what I mean? Unless you run a rental house. DPs, same thing. Like the transactional aspect of a producer is not there. It's not just like a day rate, unless you're a line producer or like a coordinator. But if you're, especially like for us, like as an EP and then as a producer, there's a lot of risk involved. Any project that you make, any project that you take on, even last year we have some projects that we took on that necessarily weren't as profitable as we wanted to be. Something happens, Genie forgets to put like something on something, a car gets damaged, and we had to pay for it. So because and that's the stake of the producer. They take the risk. And I think I've always been like that. I've always been really interested in being a creative, but I think it stemmed from like a really young age. And if you guys want to hear about that story, I'm happy to share it too.
Of course, yeah.
I want to start from the beginning. I want to hear the MD. I want to hear the Mr.
So I was born
Beast.
10/5, 1989. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here like in Elmhurst, Queens, but I grew up in Long Island. Like, you want to hear the whole story?
The whole thing.
It's weird. I think like creativity was always something that I really, I always found myself like with a weird imagination, always having ideas and like things that I wanted to do. But when you grow up in like an immigrant household and you notice that like everything is about elevating yourself to the next tier or like whatever it is from a financial standpoint or like contribution standpoint. And so for us, obviously being brown, like what is like the pinnacle of success? Education, 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 right? And so very young age, my father, to his credit, you know, that's something that he reinforced. And my mother also was on that team, right? So education was something that was, so I never took like creativity as like an interesting educational exploration. I went to school.
A doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or a failure.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
was like my household.
That's exactly.
Yo,
so yeah,
immigrants.
that's really it, right? And I think anyone can speak to that. So, you know, go through undergrad, get through undergrad, and I grew up playing sports, right? So sports was our outlet. My dad would have us 5 a.m. wake up, go play tennis. You know, go play tennis, go play soccer. Don't get in trouble. Like we were able to do just anything we wanted if we played sports and we went to school. And so growing up an athlete, you didn't really explore that side. But then when I went to high school, I had this class called computer graphics, right? It was, and I never really thought about it, but I think about it now, like that's what introduced me to the Flash Player. That's what introduced me to like the first kind of like Dreamweaver, animators, Bryce. It was all these early applications. What was the other one? Photoshop, right? So right there and then I realized that like, oh, I like this. I was making like stick figure animations that they put on like websites. I learned how to do all that. And you know, that class went away. I didn't really think about it later, but I remembered like being really creative on that, trying to do things, and I loved it. But then, you know, hard sciences, physics, math, chemistry, go to college, do the whole pre-med thing, get into med school, go to med school. And in med school, I realized that like, it's a really funny story. I was on eBay. I had like this 2010 Altima that I wanted to buy new rims for. So I'm on eBay looking for it.
Wow.
And and at the same time, my friend, while I was studying for my exams, he gave me like this D7000, Nikon D7000, not full frame, 720p camera. Can't shoot more than like 15 minutes. And I was like, yo, can I borrow this? I just want to, you know, do this. And I was always shooting, but like on my phone, on my camcorders, always doing like little video edits for my brother for his school. So I never thought about it like that. I just did it because he needed help. And I picked up that camera, and that was like in, I don't know, early 20, like in the 2010s. I just started shooting anything and everything I could. And I wasn't good. Like, I still don't think I'm good, right? Like I just wasn't good at all. But then fast forward 4 years, I'm on eBay looking for rims for my car, and I see this Nikon D750 like at like $1,800. I just bid on it. I was like, whatever. Like I'm probably not gonna win it. I wake up the next morning and I won. I'm like, all right, where am I gonna get $1,800 from now? So that was like 2015. I grabbed it, and I spent like 6 months in the city. I paid it off within 3 months because I got all this work. But every single day after my clinical rotations that I would go to Brooklyn, Kingsbrook Jewish Hospital, I would go take the subway all the way down to Brooklyn Bridge Park.
And then you're going to
Brooklyn Bridge Park, like 5, 6 p.m. and I would shoot till midnight. No. I would shoot till midnight and take the subway back home. Then go back home. And I did that for like 7 months, 8 months. I was in love. Like I was like just shooting in everything and anything, scenic things. And I made these connections, got to start shooting music. I loved music. So I started shooting a lot of like, you know, my friends were all in the music space. So got to shoot rappers. J. Cole, got to shoot them at like the festivals, got to shoot. I was in with Mass Appeal. So all these like different kind of people. It was cool. But I noticed that I was always on the wall. I was always like, even with all this creativity, I'm always like not being able to express myself. Because, you know, what normal shooters, photographers, they're on the wall. They don't really say anything. They don't have that conversation. And so how do I change that to get more ideas across? How to be more creative and then video kit? So I went from like shooting $50 small videos for people, and then that started scaling up into my clientele.
Gotcha.
One day I got introduced to this friend who's a photographer. He's like, hey man, come through. Like, just come through, shoot for 20 minutes. I need $200. I was like, all right, whatever, $200, I'll shoot. I'll bring 3 people with me if you give me $300. He's like, yeah, I bet, I got you. We pull up to the Prudential Center, and we don't even know what it is. It's the Millennium Tour with like Lloyd. It's the Millennium Tour with, you know, Boyz II Men. It's like this whole big extravaganza. We're shooting, you know, Ja Rule. We're shooting Ashanti, and this is where like we had no idea, and we just shot it and we killed it.
They're like performing.
And then
we're
shooting their whole, the entire the whole thing. We're shooting the entire thing. So it was an insane experience, and we did that, and we're super thankful for it. But I think backtracking a little bit because I got sidetracked. When I was in residency, I was my first year of residency I did in the Bronx.
So you graduated med school?
So I graduated med school, yes. I have an MD.
Yo, he's
yes.
an MD.
Yes. Yes. I graduated med school, and then
You took boards?
I did all 3 board exams. I've passed all 3 board
Wow,
exams.
so yo, this guy could fucking,
No,
we're on the diet.
No,
yo, he can fix.
No, because you have to do 2 more years of residency. I left my first year of residency. And that's an interesting story because, you're 2 years away from making a decent salary. Doctors make decent amount of money, right? I think.
No, I mean, you're never going to be hungry, but yeah.
Exactly. So it was weird. Like I was in this good program in the Bronx at Montefiore, and
That's a good hospital.
it's a good hospital. It's a decent, health system.
Yeah.
But the patient population, we're in like the inner city. We're in Wakefield, 233rd. Like, and shout out to them because it's a different demo, right? They're every day, and I just remember every day after residency going home and just wanting to create, just wanting to have that outlet because it's a very stressful thing to do, right? Especially like the patient population. I don't know if you've seen the show called The Pit recently.
No, I've been seeing the advertisements for it.
It captures certain things well. Obviously, certain things are dramatized, but there's a feeling there that you have, right? Like 3 a.m. And I remember this one time, and this is where you can say, like, this is where I decided. It's like 3 a.m. in the morning. We get a call for like a code, right? The code's when someone's going to a heart attack or there's like a respiratory distress or whatever. So you have to show up.
Did they say like code red, code blue?
Something like that,
shit,
a rapid response. That's what they would say. So I get up, it's 3 a.m. It's like April, so we're almost at the end of our first year. I get there and there's a patient on the 3rd floor, necessarily like on ventilator, not really conscious, hasn't been conscious for a while, but still alive due to, social reasons where the family doesn't want to put them, away. And it's hard for a lot of people to let go, but then it's also like there might be some financial incentive, right? You might look at like, what is the true motive of someone, keeping them alive for this long if they're suffering? And so you never want to judge, but, you do the best you can, right? So this person's, effectively going, heart's failing, so you have to start chest compressions. And I remember for like 25 minutes.
Damn.
Grinding, breaking ribs, chest compressions, me and one of my co-residents. And, we're boys, so and the rest of the girls on that were on the service. So, we naturally, be chivalrous and do the chest compressions, right? So I'm just 25 minutes just chucking away at this person's chest, like straight.
Yeah, with full force.
Full force.
Wow.
And, there's like, it's kind of gross, but like coffee ground emesis, which is, dried blood coming out. And then you have, this person's got salt ulcers open, the smell, it's like a whole bunch of different things, right? Got my ties drenched in all this like liquids and stuff, and you're like, at 3 a.m. you're wearing a tie, right? So it's funny. Yeah. And I just remember looking at like my 3rd year after this, and like the patient, we ended up bringing the patient back.
Oh, wow.
She ended up like passing away later, but that's, it happens. I looked at my senior and I was like, dude, like, I don't think I can do this. He was like the critical care fellow. And I was like, I don't think this is for me, man.
Yeah.
And he goes, nah, man, trust me, it gets better. And so I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh, does it? And I realized, wait a second, you're still here, dude. So that was like that moment where I was creating every day and I was like, nah, man, I don't think so. And so it's hard to admit, especially because you spent so much time and effort, right, doing that. And so that's where it's really like stemmed from that one day.
Wow.
And here we are.
And then how'd you, so how'd you, what were the steps like, all right, like, yo, I'm done with this. Like what you just said, like, yo, guys, I'm out. And I'm sure like, how did the family like react to this?
So my contract, because I was doing a prelim year, like was expiring anyway. And so that's when you look for other things to like, I wanted to do a certain specialty, which I ended up not getting, unfortunately. And so it's like, I wasn't really enthralled with like doing internal medicine or anything like that. And then I had this year to explore and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give myself a year to like kind of figure this out. And the City Unlimited doesn't exist at this moment. It's just like a figment of my imagination.
What year is this?
This is year 2018.
Okay.
So like, this is like right there, like it doesn't exist. And I don't even know what I really want because I want to do music, but I also want to be an artist. I want to be creative. I have really no idea, but I'm just shooting to make money. Like I'm literally shooting on my camera as a photographer, videographer. I hate that term, by the way.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
Videographer.
I hate that term, and that's not because I'm disrespecting anyone who calls themselves a videographer. It pigeonholes a lot of creators into something that they aren't.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much more than that, and so that's exactly what happened. I was $50, $100 trying to make rent. Rent's like $700 a month. Do I need to
Back
talk into
then.
this mic? Or are we good right now? No, good.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah. He would say if it's not good.
I appreciate that. So, first shoot for free food, like exchanges, like bartering, studio session time, like whatever I can do to, leverage my skill set into getting things, right? And so got pretty good at that. And that's when that whole, opportunity came up for Lloyd, and we shot, and then that ended up getting us like 5 tour dates with him. So we went on tour with him.
Wow.
And 2 of my friends went with me, right?
Around
And,
where? Country?
around the country. We went to Miami, we went to Jacksonville, we went to, I think we also did Tampa, then we did we did Arizona, we did Jersey, and then we did Vegas.
First traveling gig.
First traveling
Yeah.
gig. And like I've been to more cities and that was 2019, more cities in my life than I've ever been. And I still had cool opportunities here, like in New York. And New York is like the hub, right? So, but this is right before like production, there's still a level of difficulty in entry in production at that moment. Like post-pandemic has been a lot easier, but pre-pandemic was a lot harder. I think everything was a
Wow,
bit
that's
more closed
the
off.
first time I heard anybody say that. You
I
felt-
mean, I felt that way too. Like
Yeah.
after the pandemic, it was just like it felt like doors kind of opened up for smaller production companies, like
Yeah.
people that we didn't like. I also am part of a production company,
Sure.
creative agency.
Yeah.
And we noticed that like after the pandemic, we started to get an influx of work that we never saw before, and we were like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
But we were grateful, It
course.
was just like,
Interesting. My whole career started post pandemic.
So-
I was a nobody.
Oh,
before.
man.
I was in college trying to figure shit out. Whatever. We'll get to me later. But
Yeah.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
That's very
that's exactly what happened. Like, we started the company right before post the pandemic, and I'm not married at that moment. Like, I'm just like, we don't know what this is, and I was like, yo, listen, this makes sense. 2 of my co-founders together, we decided like this makes sense. This is what we want. Let's figure it out. And thankfully, like day one, we had our first client because we built based on our first client. And shout out to our first client, like Essence Ventures, like Essence Communications has been like one of the, they're like a Black-owned entity, huge, and they've been like super loyal to us, and they've been helping us since day one. And so, like when the definition of being put on, like they are the definition of putting you on,
Gotcha.
And so that's what they did, like right away. And it started small, it started like 5K, started 4K, started like maybe 10K, and then every year it's gotten better and bigger. And so that was it. Like right away, we signed all the papers, and we just started growing. But literally, the pandemic happened within 6 months.
Yeah, 2020.
I just got married to my wife.
Oh, 2020.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then 3 months later, we find out that we're having a baby. And so this is in the pandemic, and all the contracts that we had like lined up for anything, gone.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like that. Canceled our honeymoon.
Yeah.
In the pandemic, didn't know what to do. And then I don't know if I've mentioned, I started live streaming back in like 2014 on Twitch because I was like, this is going to be
Oh,
huge.
wow.
Yeah.
I never really understood like what the practical application of it would be until that moment.
Yeah.
And so I had already known how to like, you say I love the sumos because like the sumo
Yeah,
saved us,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we pivoted to virtual production. And we were like one of the only ones that could do like live A-cam, B-cam feeds live to clients overseas or over to like California. And so directors loved us because directors would be like, hey dude, like you guys can shoot this and I can see A and B cam like right away. That's dope. I don't got to be there. That's dope.
Yeah.
So it helped us kind of like
Yeah, I remember this
upskill.
was a thing happening. Like,
It was a thing.
remote teams.
And for a good
Yeah.
year and a half, 2 years after the pandemic, we shot virtually. And that like, we weren't on set. And then there was moments now then physical production started coming back. So like, back in November of 2021, like fast forward that's where we like started doing more physical stuff. And the barrier of entry was way lower, right? Like we were able to get our hands on an FX. I remember the first time we got our hands on an FX6, we're like, oh my God, we're shooting on an FX6.
Yeah.
And that was like not that
Yeah.
long ago, dog. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And now everyone's got an Alexa. Everyone's got a Mini, like everywhere. So
The accessibility to like a
Gear.
good image is like super crazy right
Yeah.
now. I kind of like it because it's only going to push everything else forward. Like now that everybody has
the
like
work. Now it's about the
Yeah,
work.
now it's about
what
the
are you
work.
putting in the image?
Yeah.
Yo, we're shooting on iPhones right now. Like,
know,
and we'll
fire.
see how this comes out. You know,
Yeah.
this is our first
We might
time
have to
trying with
reshoot. No,
iPhones.
just
I hope not. I hope not. Yo, I hope not.
We colored it yesterday. It looks good.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I
Sorry,
want
you guys wanted the whole
to.
story.
You quit residency.
Yeah.
You tell. I'm sure the family was not happy. With
Yeah,
that.
dude. It's no, man. Like, listen. Anytime your child makes a big decision like that, like obviously you're gonna have reservations, and I give my parents credit. Like, you know, obviously
It's
it hasn't been
risky.
easy.
I get it.
It
you
is
know?
risky, and you know, it's still a risk right now, right? But I'm just thankful that they've given me the opportunity to like express and be myself, even if they may not agree all the time. And same thing for my wife, even if she doesn't agree all the time. But the fact that like at the end of the day, I wake up and I know that they're still there, like, and still supporting me, like makes it's fuel to the fire, right?
Yeah.
And because I got into this a little older than most, there's a lot of like, you know, we always have a lot to lose, right? We don't get to explore as much as we want, because as you get older, you realize your time is limited because you have more things that demand your time, whether it be kids, spouse, family. You know, your parents are getting older.
Yeah.
You don't have that same. So every young producer or young production coordinator that comes like, yeah, I'm gonna be a producer, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. I was like, just spend time. Just spend time learning, because you have this like luxury that I don't have, and I wish I had sometimes. You know, you think about it like, I just wish I could just delve deep and work on the business 12 hours to 24 hours a day, which I still do, but I still have like, you know, pickups at 9, drop-offs at 9, pickups
Yeah.
at 3, like, you know, coordinating with my wife to who's getting the son to doctor's appointments, all these different things, you know. In-laws, like going to go to Maryland every few weeks to go see my in-laws. So those are a lot of things that we're looking at, right? And so I tell every young kid who's coming up, like, bro, just spend time. Spend time. And like the DMs are flooded, man. They're like, hey, like, how do I get on your production? How do I get on this? I was like, just spend time and be present. But yeah.
So, how do we get? I think the next chapter is how do we get to Mr. Beast?
Oh, that's weird. It's funny because like April 2022, he puts out a tweet looking for producers, and I just applied one off. I was like, you know, I'm in Virginia, so I'm not that far away.
And where are you in career at this point?
I'm
You're
still TCU's still there. It's still
Okay.
it's still company. It's a budding company. We're still figuring it out. We're like year 3, and it's like the one thing I mentioned to my co-founder is like, go look for other opportunities outside of TCU or the City Unlimited that you can bring back to the City Unlimited and bring value to it. Relationships, is it whatever, like, you know, and use that experience to help fuel our growth.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we are, right? We're in the business of relationships, and especially as
Hell yeah.
producers, the relationship is the most important thing. If you don't like kind of nurture those things, then everything becomes transactional. And when you're transactional, people don't really, the response is not as positive as you'd want, right? So for me, Mr. Beast was like a journey that I took. It was the craziest journey I've had in a while.
Yeah.
I remember that got the interview.
He puts out a tweet.
He puts out a tweet, so I just applied cold app, and then I got hit up 2 months later by a recruiter. The recruiter is like, hey, dude, like, come try this out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I was like, sounds good. I get there, and I basically, for 6 months, almost 7 months, I traveled back and forth every weekend from Virginia to North Carolina, driving every weekend just to be on the office at Beast.
Wow.
And I remember that being like the biggest thing, especially because my wife and son are like, my young child is like.
Oh, you just had your first kid, right?
Yeah, well, he's like a year and a half
Okay.
now, but yeah, like it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I did some great things there. I think I learned a lot in my own way, and I'm thankful for it. Things could be different also,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that happens with any growing organization, but it's also, I could say a lot more that we might have to do.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, you know, let's just say like I got almost like 750 million views from it, which is nice to like work on
Yeah.
content like that. I got to do some stunts that I never thought I'd be able to do. I did this one particular video where we rigged up, I found an engineer who could like rig up a jet car and launch it off a ramp over
Yeah.
certain buses. And that was like my bit that I was in charge of. And it was crazy to see how far we could push it.
Yeah.
Regardless of results, it's just like, we're just happy that, you know, I had the opportunity to work on that.
Yeah.
It helped me be a better producer from a traditional standpoint, because I learned what we could get away with and what we can't do. Right.
There's no budget when it comes to Mr. Beast, right?
There is, but like, sure. Yeah, there is.
What's the process of doing a stunt like that in terms of like your role? Like, how does that look from inception to actually
That's a good
seeing it?
question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Ali, you're doing a jet car. Oh, what's a jet car? I don't know. Figure it out.
Mr. Beast will tell
We'll
us
let you
to
know. We'll let you know. No, it was his team, right?
Jet
So-
car already sounds
just
fucked.
just jet car. Is we're doing experiments, and your experiment is jet car. I'll have more details later. All right, what's a jet car? Now, like, how do I get a jet engine on a car? And so that's the first thing you do is go on YouTube,
Yeah.
second biggest search engine in the world. Go look it up. What do? Went on YouTube.
Yeah.
Found this amazing, like super mad genius scientist in Chicago who was able to do it. Who was able to rig jet engines to a car.
Fuck.
That's like the
Cars going 5, 6
the Fast and Furious movie. That's like
Yeah.
Fast 7, I think, where Lucas Black came in with the 2 jets and
Yeah.
they went up to the moon or some bullshit.
So yeah, but obviously,
Now that you say that, it's like, oh wait, so there is science behind it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there is. Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
dude, it's interesting because like as a producer, you're a glue guy, right? You're the point guard, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is like how do you put people in positions to be successful, but also how do you manage client expectations?
Yeah.
Right.
And so not all the time will you have like a positive experience managing a client expectation. And I think, Beast is so result oriented that like sometimes, the pushback of me being a little older, giving that pushback is not necessarily like, I guess it falls on certain ears that are not necessarily, as conducive. And that's okay. That's fine. Because like I said, everyone has their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that experience. That's that creative experience there. Learned a lot, obviously walked away from it.
So you hit up the Chicago guy,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, like
We could build it, and then we partnered up with Donut Media. I don't know if you know Donut Media is like a YouTube car channel, amazing.
Oh,
channel.
I've heard of them.
So
Yeah.
it's funny. I got to work with them as well.
Oh,
and
that's
they're
cool.
Super dope.
It sounds like, from what I'm gathering, it's just like there's still this creative aspect of like, okay, who can I connect? What pieces can I connect on this side?
Still a
While
producer.
also,
It's still a producer.
Yeah.
Your role sounds like a GM for a sports team.
funny.
You got to get the right players. You got to get the right personalities in the room
To execute,
and
yeah.
execute. And if the
Yeah.
minds are not conducive to the
Yeah.
strategy, to the
Yeah.
method,
And the
then
goal is, you got to win the game.
You gotta
Like,
win a
what's the
chip.
goal? How do
Yeah.
I
How
collect
How do you
the
become
best
a
piece of
dynasty
people?
studio? How do
Yeah.
you become a dynasty team
Exactly.
for a good approximate amount of
And
years?
the scary thing is like every time you level up, there's like another GM out there who's been doing it for a lot longer than you have, has a lot more money than you have, and you're bidding on the same business right now. So I think that's where we are. So that's interesting.
But you come in with new ideas.
Yeah.
That's another thing
Exactly.
too. You're young, you come in, you elevate. There's always going to be the ceiling is elevating.
Yeah.
This is what Godfred was saying before about the fact that the accessibility to shooting now, everything
Sure.
can look great, but it's about how you elevate it, what
Yeah.
you're really basing it on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
ahead,
no,
man.
you're good. You're
What were
good.
you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was just more about like how competitive bidding can be, just because like I've seen that kind of process, and it's just like it's so interesting. I think it's out of my depth because I just know producers that do it.
Yeah.
But I've never been like, okay, yeah, I understand this. I know where we need to land or anything like that. It's just like a whole different game.
Yeah. See, it's funny, right?
Yeah.
How do you, every time someone, like client comes in, it's like, oh, I have this kind of budget.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, you have this. I in all my conversations, my first question is like, okay, like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for out of your campaign?
Yeah.
Like, what would be a perfect result for you? Is it this many impressions? Is it this many like things? Especially if they're coming from an agency, like what are you looking for specifically? Like what is a client looking for? It's different because like what an agency might be looking for is not necessarily what the client is always looking for. And I don't know why that's been a little, and that's why you can see like agencies are starting to have like a tougher time keeping certain business because a production house that understands what a client wants, because a lot of these clients are going internal right now. They're building out their own marketing leads, marketing teams. They're not really going external agency. They're going for external execution.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for? And typically when you cut the middleman out, there's a bigger of a budget for you. Maybe not as big as what an agency budget is, but there's still enough budget because there is some creative execution there. Bidding is an art in itself. But I think the first thing is always understanding where your client is. Right? Like what is the client looking for? And building out the creative, like fleshing it out. Right? And my co-founder and I, we go back and forth all the time about this because I'm always about numbers. He's like, no, find the idea out first. I'm like,
Yeah,
I got you.
even how you describe that process, you were like, you're about the metric first, and
Yeah.
like, how do we hit this KPI? How do we hit this like goal?
So that's like me. Like, yo, I'm like a numbers guy, and these guys are like, yo, what about the fucking idea?
We're
and
the
shit,
suits.
You
right?
need-
I'm the suit.
yeah.
Like I literally
But
am the suit.
This episode is brought to you by Gotham Sound, located in Astoria, Queens. Whether you're working on a production or a podcast, Gotham offers top-of-the-line sound equipment to meet your needs. For our podcast, Gotham provided us with a couple of Shure SM7Bs, and they were very efficient. So when it comes to sound, always go Gotham.
Here's a question I have in regards to this, just to piggyback off of it. In terms of like a distributor, do you even feel like now in this day and age, it's even necessary to have a distributor when it comes to certain like forms of media? I think that YouTube has done a good job of sort of like having the power be in the creator's hands, even though there is like now you see there's sponsored incentive, there's monetary incentive.
It's simple, right? Like, okay, I have a huge thesis on this.
Go ahead.
Right? First things first, barrier to entry is obviously really low. So like for the City Unlimited, what do I want? We basically build our vertical revenue from branded content. Branded content is our bread and butter. We work with brands, we work with agencies to build branded content out. That's what keeps the lights on. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
We took some of that money and we built it into development. So now we're building out what? Shows, docuseries, unscripted, scripted docs. Like we made that right relationship with all these people from the brand side, and now we're building out these relationships. Where it's like now we have our first agency. Now we have all these type of things to be able to pitch any project that we want to pitch to from a scripted or unscripted side. Like now we have the know-how, but that comes with what? A shit ton of legal fees, a shit ton of everything, right? So it's a balance, right? But like I said, cost of entry has never been lower in the content space. YouTube is, in my opinion, it's the present and will be the future. But what content looks like that is successful on that platform is different per region and per whatever trend is going on right now. 2021, I was pitching Kai Cenat to everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't even know Kai like that
Yeah.
that moment. I was pitching, like, listen, I'm working with this agency. We should reach out to his team. We should do this because he is like on the rise. I Show Speed 2022, same thing, pitching to everybody. Look at them now.
Oh,
Yeah.
speed.
So the same people, and it's funny, it's like I've been able to be like attached to certain people who are attached to these names that like, we could put things together. But I was pitching all these agencies, like I was pitching like a brand like a Logitech. I'm not saying it was Logitech, but it was like a brand like Logitech to one of these, and now it's like another brand had hit me up just very recently, like, hey, we want to partner with this person. Do you still have that relationship? I'm like, no, it's too late. Like I don't. Their price point is way higher. I'm nowhere. I'm still like, like, sorry, like that's not going to work. It's like when content is changing so much, like what they say, streamers are the new rappers. It's true. They make so much money. So YouTube is the future because there's so much money involved, and it's all about one thing and one thing only: your viewers and your community. How do you build the views, and how do you build a community? Now for traditional media, it's a little different. If I'm a traditional media empire and I've had like a Rolling Stone, say I've had all this kind of influence and I have all these followers and I have all this like social clout, what do I do? If I'm not building out a YouTube platform and building through YouTube, I'm already losing because that's where the audience is. That's where your audience is. Look for it. You know who's done this really well? You ever watch like drama, like soap operas? So there's like in Pakistan, they have these soap operas. They have millions and millions of views, and they release episodes daily. Daily.
Crazy.
I'm talking about 10, 5, 8, 20 million views, 100 million views. Dude, these dramas are like everybody watches it, from my mom to my wife to her friends to my uncles. Like they all are on YouTube watching these dramas.
Crazy.
And so, they've figured it out.
How are they making money off the YouTube? Just
AdSense, sponsorships. If you have enough viewers, anyone will come and buy stuff from you. So integrated brand ads, a sponsor. If you have like a million, I
let's say me and you have a YouTube channel, whatever
Sure.
it has. Let's say it generates 1 million views an episode app.
Sure.
Right. How do we make money off?
You look at your CPM, which is your click per meal, right? Which is like what your profit margin is. It's like for anyone who clicks on it, what is your spend power? And so like for example, a finance channel will have the highest spend power, right? Because it's like it's finance. A lot of even if you don't have a lot of subscribers, but your content, because the person watching your content makes a lot of money. Because usually finance people make a decent amount of money. That's your CPM is higher. But if you're like in a region like India or like the Middle East, well, Middle East is different. Like, but India or Pakistan or Southeast content, the CPM is way lower, even though you have way more views.
Yeah,
it's region based. It's about spending. So YouTube will pay you through AdSense. You know what AdSense is?
No.
So AdSense is basically a way that they run ads on your videos, right? There's a pre-roll or a mid-roll or an end roll, and then if whoever watches through the ad or clicks on the ad, you get some money for that ad, because it's like basically they're buying your ad spot. and you make money off it, goes into your account, and that's what AdSense is. So that's like the first way to make
it's
money.
like cents, right? Like a few pennies or something like that.
I
right?
mean, it can add up.
It can
Like
add
I don't
up.
think
You got
some people are
million.
making 40 to 50K a month off AdSense alone.
If you have 8 million people watching one video and they're all seeing
like I
ads.
said, and if you have a strong community that's like rewatching your videos and like going through it and
that's how
dissecting,
Mr. Beast makes a lot.
that's
of
how it
his money.
started. I think they start. It's like back and forth. You know,
Oh, I forgot to ask. So, in terms of your background, you're Pakistani
I'm Indian.
or Indian?
I married
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
isn't it? It's weird. I grew up in like a rich white Jewish town. I'm not rich white or Jewish, and then I grew up an Indian Muslim.
Yeah.
And so it's different because like my Hindu friends were Indian were like, oh wait, you're Muslim, and then my Pakistani friends were Muslim was like, oh wait, you're Indian. So I've always been like on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
So I sat with the black kids at the table. So that's like all my roommates growing up were black. It's just such an interesting kind of conversation to have, you know.
So what happens when you grow up in New York?
Yeah.
Like, you get all-
I went to Stony Brook, so it's like
Oh,
it's all
shit,
different
okay.
too, you know. But yeah,
Do you speak any Urdu?
I speak with.
Jikyale, tike.
That could be like Urdu, Hindi, it could be Punjabi, it could be
A
different
little
things.
bit.
You know what I'm
Hadafis.
saying? Okay. Yeah, you know, you've been around.
Yeah, I've been around.
All
I grew
right,
up
bet.
with two Pakistani
Oh,
kids.
so you
that
get
still-
it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I know it all.
Bet.
I also know the bad words, but we're not.
Don't.
Gonna say
We're not
those
gonna say
shit.
anything else. It's a family show, guys. Family show. But yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
With the YouTube.
How do you and this is like based off if you feel like you've mastered it, but how do you go about mastering like your ability to pitch or to do biddings? Like what's like how much practice or do you like how much practice did you have to get to the point where you felt like comfortable enough to make these pitches with like,
Clients?
Yeah, with
How many
clients.
times do you have to fuck up?
Yeah.
It's weird. I actually have always been a decent salesman, I think. And I think it comes down to like how comfortable you are like shilling out a product, right? Very early on, 14 years old, I was working at a soccer shop. And like I loved soccer because I grew up playing soccer. So I used to sell
Who's your
cleats.
team?
Right now,
Yeah,
or just
right.
in general?
Oh, I guess right
Like
now.
I was like internationally, I was a Brazil fan. So like the Ronaldos, the Ronaldinhos, the Rubinhos, like that's what.
If our
so,
other guy Stalin was here,
yeah.
he's a big soccer.
So like
fan.
when I
Yeah.
play, like that's I love the Joga Bonito, right? Like that's where you love it. So I come from that era where like we had the Nike Scorpion CDs and you put them in and you watched Figo.
my
Like
God.
you watch everybody playing. It was just so much fun. But yeah, came in early on. Soccer was selling cleats to kids and cleats to their parents, and started like developing my social skills from there. I've always been a talker. I think that's when you grow up like the oldest, you're a talker. Wherever it gets me into trouble all the time. I got a job at a cell phone company, Sprint.
Oh wow!
So I worked like for a third party seller, and that's where you hone in like
'Cause you get commission,
You
right?
get commission.
Yeah,
So,
I never heard Sprint in years.
yeah. So then
Wow.
and
Those are the colors. Yo, Sprint.
exactly. Nextel, right?
Yeah.
Nextel. There you go. See, full circle. And I just started selling every day. I would sell phones, and then we had quotas to meet. We meet our quotas, and I worked all through college. I would like Monday. I staggered my classes like Tuesday and Thursdays. And I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd go to work, and then Saturday, Sunday. And I remember like making more money at 21, and like that's like 21 in 2010. You're making like 50K. You're like, whoa. Like you're like, that's a lot of money for a kid with nothing to do,
No
right?
expenses, no.
Yeah.
Because I got a job
nothing.
at corporate Sprint right out of college, right? Because like
Crazy.
while I was applying to med school, I was like,
Yeah.
all right, let me go, get a job. I was
Yeah.
working in the mall, like Green Acres Mall, like
Crazy.
most foot traffic in the nation, and I
Yeah.
just learned how to sell. And right away, it was like, and I'm really thankful because I think it taught me a lot from like a person to person thing. So.
Dealt with all
And
types
it's
of
different because
people,
like
too.
they got to make the sale right away. You got to sell that phone right away. And typically, anyone who comes into your store that wants to get a phone wants a phone.
Yeah.
So like, if you don't sell, you're not doing your job, right? Like, that's where it started. And I think just pitching cell phones and also coming up with creative ways to show them what a phone does. Like, so it was an Evo 3DS, and I love if we're going on a tangent, but an Evo 3DS is like the first 3D phone that had 3D kind of like, you could
I
have 3D
remember that,
capabilities,
yeah.
right? What I was able to do, whether it's legal or not, was like get some movies like Thor or like the first Thor, the first Iron Man that came out in 3D
Yeah.
or Avatar, and was able to put them on the film. And like I remember my manager looking at this, he was like, "Dude, this is the coolest thing you've ever showed me." And no one knew you could do this, right? At that moment. And so I done that, and that's how I was selling the phone. I sold that phone so many times that month. Like
Crazy.
everyone who saw that was like, I gotta get this phone because it's got 3D. 3D fizzled out. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
at that moment, that was like.
Yeah,
It was
hot.
a big thing.
It was
Everything was
hot,
going 3D. Yeah.
And then went to med school, and then you learn on a whole nother patient interaction. You learn about like what a proper bedside manner is, how to like talk to patients, how to make them feel comfortable, how to have tough conversations, how to train. And like, that's what we do. We have tough conversations every day as a physician. So that's what I learned. And then I think pitching is like just reps. Like for me, it's just been reps every single day. Like one of my mentors has said, if you're not like batting every day in the batting cage, like just pitching and pitching and pitching like all day, if you're not getting your reps, then what are you doing? Are you really selling?
Yeah.
And so this year has been more of an outbound year. Most of our years have been inbound, where we're like, a lot of the work comes to us. But this year, I'm like actively seeking new opportunities because, you know, eat what you kill.
Opportunities are you seeking now that are different from past?
What's different?
Yeah, like are you like looking to do more? Like, are you trying to do more narrative? Or are you trying to like, what are certain things in this medium that you want to tap into that you haven't touched on?
For me, I think it's like also being able to build campaigns from the ground up that make more sense.
Right.
We have a global audience, right? So I think, you know, people say, oh, this attack on DEI is going to hurt you guys or it's going to hurt people. I don't think so. I honestly think like, you know, I like to say we live in a meritocracy now, but do we really? I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. I want to be able to tell stories that not only like speak to our Western audience, but also our Eastern audience, right? And those stories are just stories told by Western people who grew up here, like you and me, like, you know, and I'm sure you have some descent somewhere else.
Yeah, all like Soviet Union, Ukraine.
It's like, so like you have a global appeal, and you guys don't realize that. Well, I don't know if you guys don't realize that, but most people don't realize that. Like our content that we build here will translate so well to the Middle East, to Southeast Asia, to South Asia. And how do you do that? How do you do that in a way that tells a Western story like that? And so what I like to market to our brands now is like, not only can we get your domestic audience here that you're looking for, we'll also get you a global audience.
Yeah.
And so building out those kind of campaigns that have both kind of markets in mind, that's what I'm doing, whether it be in a long form format or even a commercial format. So yeah, the difference is this year we are pitching holistic campaigns versus just like one-off videos.
Yeah.
Campaigns that have like a longer life cycle and maybe like an agency, but not really.
How big is your team?
We have a core team of 4 now.
And then that's like us. We got 4 guys.
And then, you know, obviously we have like a bunch of like regulars who are always around. And then aside from that, we have, you know, it can happen, and depending on the size of the shoot or the campaign phase.
ULB is an acronym for it.
That's kind of
there's like a little.
It's a SAG ULB, yeah. It's a SAG ULB.
I've heard that one before, yeah.
And that's like where you learn a lot too, right?
Yeah.
And we're excited because like obviously like we have some cool names attached to it, but that's where you learn like. But see, like I could say we learned a lot, but then, you know, all the productions we do are basically ULB, right? So, in a sense, and you can never have enough money. But yeah, like you learn a lot of how to make things happen, how to push through boundaries. I think that's why Mr. Beast helped, because like you learn how to like navigate certain situations with like a limited budget or limited time frames.
Like outside the box.
Outside the box, yeah. You know.
So after Mr. Beast, when did you move back to New York?
2023.
2023.
September 2023. Right around the Simply job that we did.
Okay. Word. So, and then how do you start, I guess, like how do you like start growing your branded content clientele?
We, I think it's interesting. Essence obviously has been a great like uplifter, and then, you know, we got in with some agencies as well, and we just executed like small campaigns turned into big campaigns. You know, we did a lot of tech that year. So like the Meta job, the Google job. We had those jobs that were really good for us.
Oh yeah,
you remember you
those
jobs?
I was on one of the interviews.
So it's all about like, first, I think as a young production company, professionalism. How do you communicate with client is so important. How do you write emails is such an important thing. How do you build out bids that are like formalized and don't have mistakes in it? How do you like build out things that like a corporate client can look at and be comfortable with, you know, especially because they're giving you money. So, you know, what happens now is like, and a lot of young producers, and a lot of people call themselves producers today. A lot of people call themselves directors today, right? But can you really, you know, directing is only part of the job. You might be a great director, but can you actually like formulate and talk to your clients in a way that makes them feel comfortable about the vision that you're producing for them? And so we just learned that aspect of it. So what we do offer now to young directors who want to come is like, we'll handle your productions for you. We'll build out like your clientele. We'll help you kind of formulate that relationship. We'll take a percentage, but payroll, insurance, admin, all the things that everyone hates doing, our production company needs to do. So we do all the paperwork, we'll do everything, and that's where clients will like us because we communicate, we're transparent with our budgets. That's the one thing that I'm sure you guys can struggle with is like a lot of people are not really transparent. We're super transparent, maybe too transparent, but that's like kind of like the hill that I want to like.
Is that like a middleman kind of concept between director and between the client then? Like you kind of come into the, and a less, I don't know if that's like a less flowering phrase, but
No, it's fine. Middleman is a, it can be a word. I think what we like to be is like we are the facilitators.
Okay,
right?
yeah, there you
because
go. Yeah.
not every director wants to talk to a client, right? They want to be able to just be a director or creative. A DP does not want to talk. Have you seen these DPs? They don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
Right?
DPs are very.
They just want to talk to their ACs and then the director, like, you know.
It's like I want to choose my lenses.
I know. Yeah.
DPs want to conjure, like they want everyone to conjure it, and they're just sitting there and they're like, all right, great.
Yeah.
I remember Sherm, right? That's how you say his
Yeah,
name?
Sherm.
I remember how do you say? Well, he always changes his name.
No, his name is Simo. He goes by his content creation name is Sherm.
Sherm.
Just like I'm Defy, like Defy the
Yeah.
yeah, but like Ali is what everyone.
That's the government name.
Yeah, the government name.
I remember on set one time, I think I asked him like a producing logistical question. He's
Yeah.
like, yo, I'm not producing today. I'm directing. Go ask Ali. I'm like, yo, I'm just asking you like where Crafty is, bro.
That's
He's
a
like, yo,
clip.
he literally was like, in the most respectful way. He's like, yo, I'm not producing
That's a
today.
clip.
Go ask Ali.
He probably is like, I probably on his ass because he's like, you know, he's running out of time because, you know, he likes to take his time. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
his
yo,
iPad,
bro,
he
hurry
was,
up.
like, stressed, like,
yeah,
yeah.
I was yelling. I was like, where are we? Why aren't we there? I got to cut your shots. And he's just like, nah, dude. And then this guy's like, yo, where's Crafty, bro?
go somewhere else, man.
But yeah, exactly. Our job is to be facilitators. How do I put you in the best position to be successful? Just like kind of like what a producer does, like a good producer, I would say.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I got to see some inner workings of like, so I had some friends that when I was starting up, I was doing PA work, and some of my friends were producers at Ogilvy and Mather, over in Manhattan.
I had a friend there.
Yeah, great people. But that was my first experience seeing like commercial producing, and like I was just like, sometimes I'd be in the office, sometimes I'd be on set, but I would always just be like looking over the shoulder, just being like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's a top sheet, there's all these things, but it's clear communication. That was always emphasized. It was like, we're talking to client, we have to have a clear communication of what we're presenting, how we're presenting it. The deck doesn't need to be fancy. Give them what they're probably going to get, and then how we're going to get there, and that's it. Yeah. Like, it kind of boils down to just that. And
exactly. But I think what happens with like an Ogilvy and Mather and some traditional media outlets, like they become a little too rigid, right? So so this is like the balance. Like there are some producers out here, like the most amazing field producers I've ever seen. People who like, if you're on set and there's a problem, they know how to solve it within 10 seconds. And that's like, they're logistical wizards. Not even just logistical wizards, creative wizards. They find out solutions, right? You can't get into a location. How do you get into the location? How do you do certain things? How do you finesse with the cops? Like that's my job, right? Like, if the cops show on set, first thing I hear John say, Ali, cops. All right. Like, and then you got to go like talk to the cops, call hip hop police, have someone like kind of basically facilitating those conversations. But that's exactly what it is. Like that balance between field producing and also like, you know, that traditional, transparent kind of rigid production. So that's something that we've noticed this year is going to really thrive. And I think for the good field producers who want that larger client work, just fix your paperwork, fix your intake forms, fix your process, you know, fix your production process, get organized, because that's what's going to help you have larger productions and manage larger workflows. So, yeah.
How do you, like, I think one of the biggest struggles in this game is financing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you, especially like, you know, on the come up, you're trying to like, you know, big companies, you know, it's a little different, I guess, you know, more existence, more revenues, you have more access to more credit lines and more, you know, loans or whatever if you want to take them, or like, you know, you have a large pool of cash in the back. But, or if you're like funded by some parent company and stuff, but like up and comers, especially like I can relate, you know, us, like we're ground up, no debt, like, yo, it's just like, yo, money comes in, pay the overhead, reinvest. Money comes in, overhead, reinvest. You know, and I guess for you too, like, you know, money comes in, you got to reinvest it, at least to the best of your ability. How do you deal with like, you know, I guess like, you know, finding the finances for projects, you know, especially like, you know, let's say like narrative features or like, you know, small commercials and stuff, or like docuseries, like what's like some tips? And
all
like,
right.
How do we get money to make
the stuff
shit?
you want to make, right? Relationships. First things first, relationships. You build and you build and you build.
Yeah.
You build organic relationships. Don't force them. You know, and not everything has to come with work. I don't go into any conversation thinking that I'm going to sell a client. No. My goal is like, what can I do to show value to this person that won't cost them any money, that won't cost me any money? It could be a conversation. It could be advice. It could be like guidance. It could be like, oh, you should buy this camera. Oh, you know what we did here? This worked. Like value exchanges are important, especially in our industry. Like there's things that you can help me with. I can help you with from a lighting perspective or whatever. Like questions that I have for Jeannie. That stuff goes a long way. For us right now, I think anyone who's trying to generate any money for a project, it's tough right away because it's the industry, is what we live in. Now you see these LA fires. LA fires have happened, and that's like wiped out a huge ton of like the imprint that you would have in this media scape, right? Especially LA. LA was already slow, but now this has just set it back a little bit more. I'm curious to see what the aftermath looks like. Yeah. New York has been a little bit more fortunate in the sense that like a lot of work has come through here because of that, right? Not just because of the fire, but just because the writer strike, the SAG strike that happened. I think commercial work was still going on in New York, and a lot of people shifted to commercial. So now you're throwing elbows with the bigger companies that kind of shifted their commercial work. It depends on what idea is. Is it a commercial brand? Is it a commercial shoot, or is it narrative? Is it a short? Is it a spec piece? Is it a brand piece? Is it a brand film? Like, do you know what your outlet is? A lot of people will say, I want to do a narrative feature film. Everybody wants to do a feature film, right?
Yeah, everyone. Who doesn't?
Is everyone going to get to do a feature film?
Probably not.
No. Am I going to get to a feature film, like a full feature? I don't know. But how do you get in positions to be successful, right? And a lot of it comes off with small wins, right? Small wins. Do your spec piece that doesn't cost you a lot of money. Build the favors out. Do it. I think people have done a good job of that this year, right? And then getting your work notice, whether it be the festival route or whatnot, that's another way to do it. For us, what we've been able to do is build out through commercial work, through branded content, build out a decent funnel from a money-wise like perspective, a revenue-wise perspective. Obviously, the LOCs, the bank cards. That's why getting your finances in order is super important, right? Like understanding.
No credit lines.
Open your credit lines are crazy, you know, and credit lines give you a lot of flexibility, right? It's a necessary evil, and is it even evil? I don't know. I just don't like paying interest. It's a religious. It's a religious thing, right?
That's
like
haram, yeah.
And so haram, exactly. So how do you avoid that? And that's a hard conversation that I have to have with myself. Am I perfect? No. Am I trying to avoid it? Absolutely. But you know, cash is very hard to kind of come by these days, especially when you have a client that pays net 90. It's hard, man. And you got 20 subcontractors you got to pay out, 20 like crew members you got to pay out. That's hard, man. Yeah. And so we're thankful that we're able to pull off any production at any size at any point because of that, right? But then, you know, then you got like 100K in outstanding billables and you're waiting on that to come in, and then you haven't fed yourself because the producer eats last. So you're like end to end trying to make it. And who does suffer? Your family suffers or you suffer. So you try to figure that out. But yeah, that's similar to you, like bootstrap, no outside funding, just working every single day.
Doing our best. And, you know, listen, I'm grateful we've been doing a great job, but, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, like expansion, but what does your expansion look like? Like for a production company, I think it's like the exit is important, right? Like we look at not just an exit, but what is the end goal for our production company? Is it to be an entity that's like, you know, acquired by there's always going to be someone larger, right? So like acquired by a larger production company and it becomes a dev house that does developmental ideas. Like, what do you want to do? Or do you want to just do commercial work and just do billable commercials, sign directors like a traditional production company in that space and do that? So I think it's also, or do you want to do both? For me, it's like, how do I put the puzzle pieces together from a global audience perspective, bring brands, larger brands over globally to do content that's more kind of speaking to each demo in that market, and then go from there. Also, at the same time, like building that relationship to those traditional agencies, like I'm talking about like, you know, talent agencies, get our ideas noticed. And the best ideas come from yourself. You probably have a story right now, like inside, that you haven't put to paper yet, that you haven't shown anybody, that could probably sell to a network, right? So
it happens all the time. This happens all the time. Yeah, garbage is on the fucking screens and like millions of dollars.
I saw a movie on Netflix the other day with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx.
I saw
and
it
was
too.
trash, and they spent a shit ton of money on it. And what bothers me is like these people. And I don't want to talk crap about any networks. Like some people who are greenlighting this are just like tone deaf to like what the audience actually wants. Yeah. And how are you so tone deaf? And that's not to say like, you know, to hurt any creative, but someone had to read that script and be like, oh yeah, this will make a good movie because it will sell. Or is it just like B content, Lifetime style movies that people want to buy?
But it's such a big part of the Netflix niche now, is that there's a variety of these movies that I mean, Cameron Diaz hasn't been in a movie like since Bad Teacher. It's been over 10 years.
Yeah,
somehow they signed her on. You know, somehow
she needed a check.
Yeah, I guess like Jamie Foxx, like, you know,
after the stroke.
He's no longer like that actor was doing Collateral and Ray. He's like, now he's just kind of picking out. He's doing game shows. He's doing. So I do think in a weird way there is like this. There is an audience for these movies, but I also feel like they just. I think it's like a thing of you're just kind of you're taking what you're being given, but I know that there's probably like you said, it's tone deaf. Like people are watching this, are like, this is shit, but I'm still watching it. I have that thing. There's a show that Netflix produced, and I'm a big like all, you know, Netflix originals are such shit, and they kind of got me with a show, and I realized like I think I catered. I'm one of those people that they're catering to with this niche. Like
which
this,
show?
Exo Kitty. It's like one of those you watch it with Coco, and you sit with your sister, your girlfriend, whatever. You're just watching it for it to pass the time. But I do think a lot of these streaming services have this weird success with these movies that don't really like. Because I worked for many years ago. I worked for this company called Neighborhood Watch. Mm-hmm. And one of my job was to basically do like script coverage. So they were just giving me scripts, and there was this one script that A24 ended up doing a movie about called Low Tide. Mm-hmm. It sucked. But when I got the script, I got it like years in advance until I got into production, and it was me and 3 other people, and we would just read them, and it would just be like, oh, we're gonna greenlight it if it fills a certain criterion to what they're trying to do. And I got fired because through the process of it, I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like I started doing like script doctor work. Like, how does this work here? Why is this character doing this, and
you
that?
start analyzing
and they were like, yo, you gotta stop. Like, we want movies that are like this, and it's like, well, I feel like you could get movies like this, but you still gotta like treat your audience like they're not stupid. Yeah. The problem with most movies now, especially streaming movies, is that they treat the audience like they don't know shit.
It's
the audience
brain
is way
rot.
smarter. Yeah, the audience is way smart. We don't give the movies don't give credit to the audience anymore.
I think Apple TV does a great job of that recently. I've seen some of like their lineup right now. I've starting obviously from Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is like one of the most like, I don't know if you guys watch
fun
it.
show.
I know you like it because of soccer.
No,
right?
not even just that.
No, it's clever. It's a clever show.
It's an excellent show.
Yeah, it's smart.
Like from a character arc perspective, sure. Like, you know, it's not perfect, but yeah, absolutely like one of the most fun shows to watch on television, right? Mm-hmm. The second show, Silo is absolutely excellent. Silo season 2 just came out. The finale just ended. Mm-hmm. What an excellent show. Really well written, really thought-provoking, and different world concepts. And Apple does a good job, and I guess because they have $40 billion, they can take the risk.
They're also getting
the
good,
money helps.
They're getting they're attracting good filmmakers. They have Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu he did a film. I haven't seen it, but when you get a director like him, you get I just started watching Severance. You know, so now
it's funny. I'm on like episode 3 of Severance.
I'm on episode 3 too. Yeah, now I'm on it
it
because everyone's telling me you gotta watch. So I'm watching it. You know, they're more open to, I guess, having these kind of daring ideas and allowing these showrunners and.
You ever see Hijack? The Idris Elba show?
Which one's
Hijack?
No, Hijack.
It's on Apple TV. You should watch it. It's like,
you know what I always watch? Luther.
Yeah,
I watched the show Luther.
Luther's an excellent show.
Yeah, very good show.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get like Apple. Hate to say it, but yeah, Amazon Prime's got some good shows. Like the Paramount. They find these networks are finding a good niche, and now TV has become. Has elevated into a movie form, but like much longer. Yeah. Obviously, like miniseries, but there's shows now that are like running 3 seasons, 4 seasons that are played like movies, and and audiences are more gravitated towards that
because they love serialized content, and like I think it starts with that, right? Like serialized content that's a little longer form, 40 to 50 minutes. Original storylines are what's the way to like make the most money. Look at Game of Thrones. Right? Just in general.
It is the best like ROI for like, it's like starting a new startup that's gonna be like next 10 years and it's gonna make you billions.
But it's also one of the hardest places to get into, right? Like you know, you have to have the right team involved, pitching your content, right access. Access is such an important thing. like having the right access to the right people, the right names to attach. It's like building a package, right? So anyone who's trying to build an idea or a story, or any like budding showrunner or like director, build your package. Find the right actors, make that right relationship with the right names, attach them, find the right agent, find the right people to attach to a project, and then sell it to a network, and then pitch it to a network. But chances are the network will look at like one person on the, I don't like this person. Let's change this person with this person. The network's gonna want their final say.
Yeah.
But if you can build like, you have to be a campaigner for your own ideas.
Yeah.
If you can build an idea and show like, I have this attached to it. This is ready. This is what it looks like. This is the script. This is a show Bible. This is everything. Let's pitch this. And that's what, like, we are currently in that process, right? We have two things that are being in that process and very far along on it. That's where you start to realize that's where the value is, right? A lot of these people are like, oh, I got this script. Read my script. No, but who did you attach to your script? Who did you attach to your idea? Who are you talking to?
It's got to be more than just a script, piece of paper. Like, yo, I need like a package, like a bundle. Oh, like
an idea, a visual mood board.
Oh, you got this agency ready for you. Oh, you got like 200,000 ready to go. Like, all right. Like,
well, so the thing, private investment is important, right? So, like, I think a private investor in a film is important if the idea is novel and you can pull it off. I also think it helps in two ways. You can show a network that you have someone attached to it, but mostly like if a network is developing an idea or they want to sign a developmental deal or like a green light, they're not going to care if someone's attached to it. You can bluff with them and be like, hey, I got like 200K attached to it. And then like, hey, but then they'll look at it and be like, no, he doesn't. Like find out. I think it's hard, man, because, this is where the stage I'm at now. Now you're like, where are you in the current, like we are actively pitching, right? We're actively pitching campaigns. We're actively pitching scripted and unscripted series. Like that's what we're doing now. Yeah. Because what is the next step in the culmination of what the City Unlimited is? That's where we are. We are throwing elbows with giants. The music videos are the vanity projects, right? Music videos, everybody knows they look the most expensive, but they are not. You guys can all attest to music video budgets now. Yeah, right, they are not. They look beautiful.
Some of them, yeah.
They're like some, but like we just, it was cool. We did that 3 video. What's it called? We did Common this year. 3 music videos for his new album.
And you guys got
they were shot on film.
Yeah, you guys got nominated, right?
One of the songs was nominated for a Grammy, and we worked on that music video.
Oh, okay.
So that's fun. Like it's nice to like have that affiliation.
Is that the Common and Pete Rock?
Yeah, When the Sun Shines.
Beautiful.
Shot in Aerochrome, which like
John shot that, right?
No, John shot the second one, Fortunate,
okay.
and then Ben Elias shot that one.
Okay.
Shout out to Ben, Chef Ben.
Real deal, huh?
Real deal. And like I haven't like personally got to, I'm always admin, I'm the suit, right? But like the guys have told me like, dude, the things that he knows to do on film, I don't think anyone can do.
Right.
And listen, John does his thing too, don't get me wrong, but Ben is like known to be that guy. And then shout out to Cameron Marigold. I don't know if you've worked with him recently, but their work looked great. Cool. Cameron Marigold, he's like a colorist.
Yeah. Was that at Company 3 or something?
He was at Ethos, and now I think he's at Fairchild, which is like it's fire, dude.
Word.
Yeah, fire. He colored both those things, and it got us like on Kodak. Kodak noticed us. We posted the whole entire video, all 3 of them. And so, like we have a lot of wins. Wins are there, but it's like, how do you leverage those wins into the next foray?
Yeah.
I'm in conversations now with some of the best directors, some of the best producers in the game, but they've been there a lot longer. They know a lot more than I do. And so the learning experiences as an EP, as someone who's also running a production company, how do I stay relevant? How do I make money? And how do I leverage myself to that next level? And that's I guess.
That's 2025.
That's 2025.
Hell yeah.
Like, eat what you kill, but also go global, right? Like, I'm going to Dubai on February 10th, right?
For what?
For work.
For work.
For work, because we gotta make some money. And I think looking globally is such an important thing, especially in this market, because access is like this. Before it's like, we're always.
You gonna rent a Lambo?
No, I'm not gonna rent one.
Oh, you're gonna get one.
Say inshallah,
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like just being able to provide for the family in a way that maybe can't do as well right now, but in the future, that's what we want. We all want the house. We all want the nice life. I want my kids to be situated. I want everyone to live happily. And then for me to be able to do my thing. And I think that when you make that sacrifice as, almost a professional, in medicine, to now where we are. I think that's
Yeah, it's a crazy switch. I've never heard of anybody. I mean, we all have peers that like, did one thing in their career, then switched this and that, and like, it's just crazy from medicine to fucking here. Like, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
It's not as I thought I was like unique as being a doctor who's doing other things, but I think that if you really go down the line of medical professionals, especially like doctors, MDs, they're like super talented. They're also the craziest people I've ever met. But they all have like these weird innate skill sets that they never got to explore. Like I know this doctor who's an anesthesiologist who's like a genius musician. I'm talking about like can play like organ, like church choir, like you know what I'm talking about, like but still an amazing doctor, right? Amazing. Anesthesiologist. I know another doctor who's like one of the most talented painters I've ever met in my life. I was like, how do you, I don't understand, but like, why medicine? Because medicine is the conduit of success in our society.
Yeah.
Is that wrong or right? I don't know. Right.
It's like one of those tropes of like, no one ever like, looks down on a doctor.
Facts.
Like, it's like a prestigious level.
I looked up like maybe a week ago or two. I think I told you about and we were having a debate about who makes the most money, like in terms like what profession makes the money, and like literally the top 15 were like roles in medicine. Like
but like it's like what is a lot of money? Like if you take like the richest people in the world, none of them are doctors. But like
is a lot of money.
You would say you could say like most doctors are living well. Like I mean,
but they also spend.
They
4 years in med school. Sorry, 4 years in undergrad, 4 years in med school, 3 years to 7 years in residency. By the time you're done, all your friends have kids and married and like been working. My friends in finance have been making money since they were 22.
Crazy.
And then I'm talking like 70, 80, 150, 100. Like I
remember I had a
pipeline,
boy who worked at Chase. He got an internship at Chase. He was making $45 an hour at like 21 years old. I was like, huh? You're an intern.
And my day rate is $250? Right. And so, dude, that's an important thing to look at, right? I think medicine, you can make a lot of money in medicine. You can live comfortably in medicine. You'll have a nice car, but you'll always be like, they also still work crazy amount of hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
A lot of work, and you take your work home with you.
Yeah.
You don't finish your notes on time, you're home. If something happens to a patient, you're home. Just like, you are always on in medicine, even when you're off. Everyone says it gets better, and like for those people who love to do it, more power to them. For me, I noticed that like this wasn't my path. And hindsight's always 20/20. Could I do things differently back then? Sure, I could. But it's also, this is the path I'm on. Why am I going to be ungrateful for what I've been given? We have like a budding production company in New York, in like the best city in the world, trying to grow. Just be thankful. And like I work with some of the best people I've ever worked with. You guys are great. I've worked with some of the most talented individuals in this production space that have yet to be discovered by like larger outlets. And so it's crazy to see, the growth. And I'm just proud of everybody who's been doing it. I think the one advice I say is like, just keep on that path. And even if people don't want my advice, I'm still old, so I can give advice.
Not that old.
You know what I mean?
You want to go public with your age?
People know I'm 35.
You're 35?
I'm a young looking 35 though.
35's young. You're good.
Yeah.
You're still,
Yeah, I mean.
It's the 40s that get scary.
They call me Unc now. I don't know if that's good. You know what I mean? They call me Unc.
That's funny.
You know what I mean?
We're not far from.
I am an Unc. I'm an uncle, so we're all right.
In blink of an eye, we're gonna be in our mid-30s.
Yeah. Chill. I can wait. I can do a couple blinks.
I wish I was still in my mid-20s or early 20s. I put a lot of like emphasis on like, you didn't do this yet at this time.
Yeah.
Everyone says like, oh, you gotta like the process of the process. I say fuck. I say
that's life. Sometimes, right?
Sometimes it's just like, yo, fuck that. Like I want to like get here.
Yeah.
At this time, but I think it's
okay.
Like,
so what specifically?
Well, I just want to do. I mean, the more we talk about this, the more I realize like I'm very insightful. But I don't. This year and last year, I've been really big in terms of like branding.
Sure.
And I've come from like, after I went to film school, I went right into TV. So like my understanding of producing and logistics and all those things came from a more like
traditional,
gargantuan but very chaotic form of coordinating. And I didn't like it, and I was going into a weird path. And I've always wanted to write. I've always been a writer. But it was one of those things of like, you can't just like write something and send it to people. you have to, like, as you were saying, you kind of have to think. As I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, I have to have a package. I have to have some kind of idea of what the bigger picture looks like at the end. But because movies have shifted here and the enigma has changed a little bit, where it feels a lot more content based, like I'm not very certain of where I stand.
Yeah.
Because I like making content. I make content for Matria, but I've grown to kind of feel not. I feel kind of removed. Like, I feel like, yeah, you know, we do it because I'm passionate about the company, but there's also a part of me that's like, I gotta make movies though. But movies are not, they don't sell like that anymore unless, like, you have, like, a name, you know. And I do a lot of film history stuff, so I know that, like, the guys that I look up to who did make it or had, like, their Sundance moment, it was, like, through moments of, like, they had this one actor or they met the right person. The relationship thing is really important. You want to have a good relationship with a producer, but you also don't want to tap into things for the sake of, like, how can this person get me to one place? Like, I really believe, like, as I get older, it really is like you have to have organic, genuine relationships. But it's just, you know, this is, I feel like I'm in a muddle of, like, we want to do movies, but no, we want to do series, but no, we want to do content, but no. And next thing you know, you start talking about what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm 29, I'm going to turn 30 this year. I really want to make one feature. Like, I did a feature a few years ago. I think I went about it the wrong way though. Like, my approach to it post screening, like post festival, I don't think I had, like, the right knowledge. So I learned from that experience. Now it's more about, like, okay, like, I know, like, in my heart, like, I want to do films. I want to have, like, a career making just singular films. TV's cool. I don't know if I have the brain for TV. I don't know if I have the brain to, like, do something as consistent, like, long form.
Yeah, but you can also not write it off because you don't know. So
Yeah.
I think hearing what you're saying, it seems like the one biggest thing that might, you know, you're only defeated if you stop.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, what do you love to do? This is what you love to do. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about it in that way? And I think you speaking about that struggle as, like, someone who's done a feature, who's been around, and then talking about that on social media or whatever for your brand profile will help you, as long as you're organic and say, like, this is what I did. I run this. This is what I've been in my background. And it'll be fascinating to hear. And you'll find your audience for your own brand and stuff. And that can only give you more exposure on your next idea. So
Yeah,
because someone else has probably been through what you've been through and felt the way you felt and know that they can identify with it, but they're just not open enough or vulnerable enough on social media to be talking about it. And I'm sure you're going to get haters too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like the
But who cares?
Yeah.
I love
you're
the haters.
You're trying. Like,
we've gotten some, like, in the past, like, and it's always, at first I'm, like, triggered. I'm like, why? Like, what are they saying? And then I started thinking about it. It's like, you know, it's just, I'm the same way. I see a movie, I'm the first one to sit in a room and I'd be like, I didn't like that movie.
people
like,
who gripe at imperfections, it's fine.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The
Yeah.
people who gripe at imperfections, like, okay, so we're not every idea is for everybody, right? Like, I'm sure, like, a bigwig at an executive, like, level understands that, like, Cameron Diaz movie on a macro level that I don't see. I don't see the numbers. I don't see this.
Yeah.
I see it from, like, my own perspective. So people's perspectives are just their perspectives. They're
Right.
not truth. They're not fact. They're not objective. So, like, you looking at someone else's comment about, like, a negative thing about maybe what you're saying or what you're doing is you're just focusing on their perspective and not what objective is. The objective
Right,
thing is you
yeah.
need to grow. The objective thing is you want to do a movie. The objective thing is you want to be successful, right? So how do you do that? You just by trying, by getting your reps in. And I think that's what I would do. Take what you love, put it all together and try to, like, just spit it out there and see what happens and experiment. You can't be scared of experimenting.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. The David Lynch. I'm a very, like, Godfred knows. Like, we talk about all the time. I'm a very mixed bag on him.
Yeah.
When he died, obviously it was like the film world was like,
Sure.
oh shit, we had to recognize that. Yeah, he's a great artist. And then we were watching Wild at Heart as a group, and I've seen the movie before. But when I was,
It's a great movie.
It's very cool. It's a very cool movie. But
So
when I
you
was
guys speaking, like I said, this is why I don't have a traditional film background, which is
Yeah.
really funny because, like, I've never seen Wild at
It's
Heart. so-
real quick. It's basically
That's your homework.
It's a it's
My film homework?
It's a rockabilly like themed love story that is kind of referencing Wizard of Oz. It's like two like Nicolas Cage, Laura Dern. She's young, he's a little bit older. They go on a road trip. Her mom is crazy. She sends a bunch of hitmen to kill him. She doesn't want him around. So
Spoilers.
yeah,
That's fine.
it's a weird movie. and not a lot of it makes sense. And I've always been one of the I consider myself a fan of Lynch, where I would say, like, I don't understand where he's going with this. I find his movies to be kind of like an anomaly.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, no, like, things should be clear. But I think when I was more immersed in the experience of watching and listening to his interviews and stuff, he kind of, I think what makes him so inspirational is that he always said, like, I think it's just about where you're, like, what your mood is. Like, you have to go with what the story tells you where to go. You can't have all the answers. Everything comes in figments. So, like, when I write, like, I treat it the way I work out. Like, I'll an hour of this, an hour of writing this down. I go back the next day, I read it. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just gonna keep going with it. And then I'll like talk to other writer friends, and they have different approaches where they're like, I don't know, I'm about, like, everything has to be like this.
It doesn't matter.
You need to have reason. What's your reason? And I'm like, I don't have a reason. And it's like, do you just want to make something? And I was like, yeah, but I just felt something one day and I wrote that. So the next day I felt the same thing. I felt another thing. I wrote that.
I think, like, everyone's creative process is different, right? I'm sure you have a different creative process. Like, sometimes you got to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, right? Yeah. I think what's important for you is, like, you might just go to all your writer friends, like, oh, we love that song, but you don't know what the audience likes.
Exactly. Yeah. Some people.
So how do you know? Like, that's why, like, music is such an interesting phenomenon to me, because, like, you could be in the studio and it could be 4 different notable artists that I'm seeing recording a song, and, like, all of them are going back and forth about how they don't like it, and then they put it out and it's like a massive hit, and you're like, oh wait, like, maybe it worked. You don't. It's such a fickle thing. Creativity is such a fickle kind of, like, and I say, like, for music specifically, and then writing is, like, it's such an intimate thing, because people are consuming it, like, at an active level, right? It's not a passive level of consumption. And so how do you kind of navigate that? I think you don't have the truth. You just have to get reps in, like I said. So.
Yeah, I definitely am so much more immersed by things that make me feel, like, alive, like things that just hit me. Yeah. And I think we need more of that in movies. I think we need more of that. Definitely think we need a lot of that too in content. I think content's so it's what's it called? Wow, my fucking brain's fried right now. It's like constant, it's like continual. It's always consistent. Yeah, consistency in content is. There's so much of it that once in a while I see something that just, like, it's different. It's like, oh fuck, like, who is this person?
But that's the magic.
Yeah,
that's what you have to do. It's like, it's not about trying to be different. It's about being true. I'm sure that, like, there's, like, this kid on Instagram called American Baron. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a filmmaker, but he does, like, scenarios amongst himself, and it's actually really interesting. We can watch it after the pod. Like,
oh, it's cool.
It's like he's his writing is just unique, right? And his delivery, it's like an old school kind of, like, American cinema style. Like, you notice it and you're like, wow. And he does different, like, tropes, and it's like very short form, 60-second pieces of scenarios, stupid scenarios, silly scenarios, but it's also, like, in a light that's true to him. He does really well on that.
Oh yeah, I gotta see that. That's cool.
What's his name?
American Baron. I think that's what his handle is. I'll show it.
I really like that. That's cool. Yeah,
you guys should watch it, because, like, his writing is spot on, right? And it reminds me of, like, that's what he can do at such a small thing. And I'm sure that, and I don't know if you heard, like, that one YouTube video that this kid put out, like, got him signed to a production company.
What's his name? Wes?
Something like that. Like, just on YouTube. It's like a phenomenon. So, like, you have mediums to do this, but it's also, you'll never know if you don't try. Like, right now I'm on this outbound content pipeline where I'm trying to put out different pieces of content, whether it be gaming related, this related, not just as, like, I want to be known as a creator. No, I just want to be known as Ali. You know, I just want to be known as somebody who's in this game, who's done a bunch of stuff, but also staying true to myself and doing things that I enjoy. Like, literally one video that, like, popped off for me recently is a video about, I'm playing Call of Duty with my friends, and this dude is talking about cars. Like, literally, he's talking about why it's the most random kind of quote. He's talking about why car companies are hesitant to put their cars in video games like GTA. That's why they always have different names, right? And he was, like, talking about licensing fees and, like, the brand notoriety. And I'm just like, in this day and age, I think that's dumb, obviously. But that video had nothing to do with the game that I was playing or what I was doing in general. Like, I was trying to get kills. But that video is what, like, started a conversation. And, like, content is just so fickle. Like, you don't know that's going to happen. I just saw that clip and I was like, maybe this is going to work. And it worked. You know?
I guess that's the key to it. You can't stop trying.
Yeah, you
can't overthink it.
And sometimes it gets a little bit frustrating because you try and sometimes it doesn't always work. And you're like, oh, whatever. Like, you know, I guess, like, for example, I mean, this was, like, it's kind of like a side plot, but like when we did our videos, like tutorials and stuff, it took like some time to set up and we get it done, and like the tutorials and product videos and all that. And it was a lot of work, and we get it done, and it was cool. We get a couple thousand views and likes and some engagement, and it was cool, and definitely we got more inquiries. But then when we did a giveaway of a light,
the way
we filmed it in 10 minutes, edited it in 5. Dropped it in an hour.
Looked like shit.
50,000 views in like a day. Look like shit.
And it's cool because it's also meant to do what.
But you should do a 1 video giveaway a month then, because if you. But it doesn't have to be expensive. Like it could be C-stands for God's sakes. It could be something that someone needs.
Yeah.
But that just creates, hey yo, they do a monthly giveaway for 1 piece of gear. Your ROI on that 1 piece of gear may be tenfold because it just creates more notoriety.
We definitely saw engagement.
And that's an attribute to what we're trying to establish as a company.
Yeah.
But it's funny in terms of like creative wise. Like we'll look at that and we're like, damn,
people love
man.
free shit, bro.
Yeah,
we learned that.
Yeah, free
free
stuff.
shit.
It's like people like free shit and people like education.
Yeah.
You know, like I think moving forward for this year, what we talked about in terms of the content, it's that the content that's going to thrive is the content that people can walk away with something.
Exactly.
So
or just entertainment too.
Entertainment
right?
too. Yeah.
Well, that's like you're giving away. What do you every time you post something on any social media? What are you giving away?
Yeah.
You got to give something away, whether it's like an item, education, knowledge, entertainment, a laugh.
Yeah.
You got to give
Brain
something
rot
away.
these days. That
Brain
word is like
rot.
really
Yeah, which I don't like there's certain videos I've seen that are really abstract and really random, and they do really crazy things, and someone made the term that it's like a brain candy or something, and I thought like, I don't know, it's making me think about
it's
things.
all dopamine, right? It's all your
Yeah.
neuroreceptors. It's all dopamine. It's all about that reward pathway that you're trying to kind of reinforce. So you just got to be careful also what you consume. Right?
Yeah.
It is a diet.
You mentioned a good, interesting about like consistency with content, and also a little bit of like seeing the same thing over and over. I want to touch upon the music video with Lil Mabu.
Okay, yeah.
Because we music videos, they're like a bread and butter. Like we do a lot of them. We all do a lot of them. We all grew up doing them. Like they listen, we'll still do them if the money's good and stuff. So
I always thought I would never do like a music video with a rapper. I just thought like, I'm a Muslim kid. I grew up in like a pretty traditional family. Like I'm not trying to, see people twerking on my videos, and like I don't want to attach myself to those things. Alcohol, guns, drugs, not necessarily like something I do. But when the Mabu thing like came up, like it just seemed like a very unique idea, and it, I'm glad we did it. I guess.
Is he an artist that's like, is he self-parody, or is he? I don't know too much about him, but I remember watching one of his videos. And I was like, I can't tell if he's like, if this is a real thing or if he's a character.
I just don't think he's scared.
Okay,
I think Mabu's like one of those type of kids. Like I don't, to his credit, I don't think he fears anything, and if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that he cares more about the art than his image, which is what sometimes you need. You need that like unmitigated confidence that you have as a 21-year-old. I'm sure I was way more confident when I was 21, 22 for no reason than I am now at 35, because life gives you breaks, life gives you things. So I think he's at an age and at that level where he's not worried. He's seen success. I don't know. I think he's like 21, 22.
Wow,
maybe he's 20. Yeah. Maybe he's not even that old. Like I don't know. But yeah, I think he's just not scared, and I think that he has a very supportive family at a very young age to do that, and credit to him for what he's done. Curious to see how he does more.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because like you always see like, no disrespect to anybody, but like I'm about to say some wild shit.
You see a lot of drill videos.
You just see a lot of like the same shit.
Yeah.
Weird camera angles. Like sexy woman twerking,
the camera going like
guns,
this.
drugs.
Film burn flare.
Yeah.
And then you see somebody in the car with the fucking beanie or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like,
same shit. No, it's the same shit over and over. And like, sure, there's some cool shit, and you see some homies work on him, and like, sometimes it's like a popping artist, whatever. But it gets so boring. And when you guys pulled off the how to drill, teach me how to drill, it was a very unique way of going at it with the music video game. Sure, taking like kind of the same elements of like typical drill videos or like just typical hip hop videos. But it's also like
a mockumentary. It's like a self-parody in a sense of that. I think
it was just so funny too, and
I appreciate that. I'm not gonna take all credit for that because obviously, like Rick Lancaster, from Black Hat, he directed that, and then also you had Mabu, who's also co-directing. I'm just there to fill in the gaps, right? And so I remember John and I just like, John Charles and I just being there and be like, what's going on? Like it was, and I'm saying that's probably the most chaotic shoots that we've had, but it also came out way like right, like, you know how you know if something's gonna be good. Like even with the A Boogie video, like we knew it was gonna be good with the first frame. You know something's gonna be good. That first frame that you look at it, that first frame that pops up, you're like, oh. You know, it's always scary when you take like, oh, I don't know how the shoot went, and then you got to go look back. But the minute you see the first frame on the monitor, it's like you knew it was gonna be good. And so, right away when first shot up in the school, that was like the first. We did the skit first, and you know we got Favi early because you want to get Favi early because if you don't get him early, then you know you might not even get Favi there. Right? So like, he shows up, kills it right away. Mabu kills it. We almost ran out of time because we tried to do so many different looks, but dude, that was like. That was the music video that I did. That was right after the A Boogie video. We're like, okay, this is unique, you know, and it was nice. We're proud of it for sure.
Hell yeah! How was it was Rick who came up with the idea?
I think
it was
I think combination of Mabu and Rick.
Okay.
So like, you know, obviously Mabu was like Mabu did the whole dorm room thing about Favi coming in, and that's like obviously it's like a year and a half ago now, but like he did the dorm room series where he comes into Atlanta, like pulls up on him. And then does a studio session, and they probably collaborate, and they come up with the idea for the video. The video was like 2 different locations. We shot that in Jersey, 3 different. So we shot in Jersey, we shot in Woodside Projects, and then imagine taking a jib into Woodside Projects at 8 p.m. at night with no permits. We can't even put that out there, but not saying.
It's already done.
It's already done. Like, it's like, but we did call the hip hop police, and then the cops rolled up on us really early.
So this hip hop police.
Oh, so you guys don't know about the hip hop police, right?
Do you know about the hip hop?
So basically, producers, what happens is if you're trying to go to any location in New York and trying to film, especially if it's a music video, just call the hip hop police. Especially if you get someone on the subway, if you get somewhere there, they're just there to help coordinate and make sure everyone's safe. So shout out to them because like. They work in a way where like if we reach out to them, they'll have someone pull up on set for us and make sure that everything runs smoothly from like a law side. You know, like we had, for example, we had prop firearms on set, and we had like a safety officer. We just wanted to show it to the officer on set. Also, the hip hop police, they saw that we had guns on set, and they said, "Okay, that's fine."
This is a division of like NYPD.
NYPD.
Oh, this is the TV movie.
No, it's
division,
different. It's different. Like it's called hip hop police. It's
wow.
This is like catered to music videos that are more of the hip hop kind, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Like if you're shooting a drill video and you don't call the hip hop police and you're shooting
They're just
outside.
making shit like the guns that you guys use in.
Not even just a conduit or a communicator to like law enforcement or just in general to anyone.
Gotcha.
Right. So like we had notified them, and that's why we ended up going to Woodside. And you know Mabu, to his credit, is good with people in Woodside, so he was able to shoot something out there, and kids loved him. He gave away all the scooters, and
the scooters with the scooters going down the block.
but it's also like logistical nightmare because you got you got hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that you're liable for. If that doesn't pop off, like you gotta be careful, and not to give anyone discrediting anyone from there, but. You got to steady there. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
People might get hurt.
Yeah, Eli Kravitz, right?
Eli did his thing, dude.
I know he did his thing.
Eli did his thing. Eli was great on that video too.
Hell yeah.
And like that was the first time I've ever worked with him, and I knew that I haven't hit him up since, but I'll be hitting him up soon.
He's good. I absolutely.
It's hard, man, because there's so many talented people out here. Like and you have such a good experience with people. You don't ever want to muddy that experience up.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, he's been. Yeah, it was just a fun video overall. But
Rick is cool.
Rick's cool. Rick is like one of the most talented people that I know in terms of just like his ideas, his forward thinking. Yeah, absolutely cool.
Wow.
You usually see him behind the scenes, right? More from a post side, like VFX.
He's a
side.
big VFX guy.
Big VFX guy, but he's also not for nothing, like learning to be a great director too. I think we talk quite often. It's funny. He texted me yesterday. I have to get back to him. But
wow.
Being like an EP behind the scenes, you're not always like forward in the public eye, but you also know everybody. You know a decent amount of people in the industry, and like I said, relationships. So how do you put things together?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Dude, does Fabio and Mabu get paid for music videos like that?
Well, if it's their video, if it's their song and they're collaborating, they're gonna put up the money, right? So there's no label involved because Mabu's independent.
Oh wow!
But he's also very present and prevalent on YouTube, so I'm sure he's making money off of the YouTube.
Yeah.
So like I said, AdSense, independent artist, AdSense.
Yeah.
And Fabio's just pulling up because he's on the song.
Yeah, of course. They built it out, and it's a good look for him.
Yeah.
That song got over 50 million views on YouTube.
Crazy.
That's like for an independent artist, that's huge.
Yeah.
Right. For us, that's huge. That just helps me add to my billion. So
absolutely.
Sure. a lot of it came from Mr. Beast, but like, you know, but the opportunities that ended open, like I consult for a YouTuber down in Virginia right now. I consult for one overseas right now. I do like different YouTube platforms. I look at their like content pipelines, what they're doing, how they can improve optimization. It's so funny because I can help everyone get like millions of views on YouTube. And like the struggle is for myself, like how do I put myself in a position to be like, okay, I've done it for others. How do I do it for myself?
It's so tough when it comes to do it. Yeah, no, exactly. But you got to keep going, right?
Exactly. So it's experimenting. And I think this year, I guess I'm at a point where I just don't care. I just don't care if I look stupid. I don't care if I look foolish because I'm trying. I don't care. Yeah. You may think it's corny. You might not. Like, I might be an unk to somebody. I might be like, oh, this dude is just, he's trying too hard. Like, at least I'm trying, dog. Like,
this is true.
I see, like,
it's not too late.
I see some dumb shit on, like, this is a guy on the train. He, like, throws himself on the ground. He pretends to be a worm. He's really gross and gets a lot of views. And I'm always, like, I always want to comment, like, this is, I don't know what this is. But I never do. But, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, you know, there's people out there that are willing to, like, kind of throw themselves in and play this part that I don't understand, so I can't be like that.
If this dude is, you know, if that dude is running around like a worm, and then my other friend Prince Z is running around in a golden underwear, like on the subway, like what are you scared of, dog?
Exactly.
Like, why people are out there making themselves like, you know, vulnerable, and they may be a lot smarter than you give them credit for, right? Like, never take the camera for what it's worth. Like, always look at behind the scenes, who they really in like real life, and then you'll notice that. So I just think you can't be scared. I'm scared. Like I've been scared for a long time, because when you come from an immigrant community, when you come from like a community that's very like, I guess you could say conservative or whatnot, you're worried about how you look and what people will say. And I think that's what we work on, right? We operate based off of fear, and I think operating based off hope and like growth is more important to look at now. And I think it took me 35 years to be at this position where, like, I got 2 kids at home. I got my wife. I got my parents. Like, my family's good. Like, I need to just figure it out. You know, at this point in life, I just want to figure it out. And that's why am I scared to figure it out? I shouldn't be scared.
How do you balance, like I have a girlfriend, but it was just like a full-time job. But I don't have a wife or
I have like 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah, I understand. How do you balance like having a family, which is like a whole other, which is like a full-time job, running a business 24/7. It's not even a 9 to 5. Yeah. And then also trying to like run a business and trying to not even run, but pop off a business. You know,
team first is like the team around you. Right? I think like you know, I like to say I run a meritocracy, right? Like, I think that like you based off your abilities, based on your reward. But I also then, the caveat to that is like, you know, if 2 people show up to work at the same time every single day, and you give one person the promotion, but you don't look at like where they're coming from. Someone might have to take the train at 7 a.m., drop their kid off, come here, and still be here on time, versus the kid whose dad paid for his apartment and is showing up. And then who are you going to give the promotion to, right? So a meritocracy, even if they're putting the same results on, doesn't necessarily make sense. But for me, my team is like the one thing that like helps, right? Like, having a team to help build out your ideas is important, but also make sure that all your teammates are firing on the same cylinders. All right, so that's the first thing. How do I balance? I don't know. Like, I think I have like this internal battle where like someone very early on told me that you're not going to be able to have both. If you want a creative life or if you want the family life, you won't be able to do it right away, at least. And not that I tried to do it, it just happened. You know, God puts you in positions to be successful in many different ways at many different times, and gives you opportunities, and you just make the most of it. The balance is like, I just blessed, man. Like, I get to wake up every day and drop my kids off to school. How many fathers can say they get to do that every single day and then be there for pickup majority of the times? You know, when I'm not on set or when I'm not traveling, when I'm not working. I think balance, I'm trying to prove that wrong. That thesis where a creative cannot have a family and have a conducive life, I'm trying to prove that wrong. And I think I am. I think that's, you know, balance is hard, man. But find moments and minutes, and I could always be better. Don't worry. Can I spend more time with my wife? Probably. Can I spend time with my kids, with my parents? Absolutely. Can I spend more time on my business? Yeah. I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm going to try. You know?
Hell yeah. Man, that's beautifully said.
Yeah.
What's the time?
It's 11:50.
Oh, 11:50. All right.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
What's up, bro? Go ahead.
All right.
Let's get to it.
I feel like you have a really good grasp, and everything that you said also, just to go back, everything that you said about your family and balance, I
Yeah.
think is beautiful. I think it's something I've been asking a lot of people, because it's like, I do, like, we're running this business. I really don't see myself doing anything else besides, like, creating and, like, working on film. So it's like, I always like to get people's perspective on that, especially people with a family right now. But I also wanted to touch upon, like, it seems like you do a lot of research in terms of, like, helping people out. How much of your time is spent researching what's happening right now on the internet, what people are looking at, and where, like, the industry is kind of going?
I'm chronically online.
Yeah.
Right. Chronically.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I'm the end all be all of knowledge. I've always had like one of my my first friends in college, Julian, was like a really big promoter of like my skill set. He saw skill set in this skill set that you're seeing now, like in me before anyone else did. And he was always very encouraging about it. But you know, we joke about it. We grew up 10 years too early.
Yeah.
Because we were making videos like on Justin TV, before Vine, before Instagram, before Facebook, like, well, during Facebook times, like we'd do like silly skit videos, anything we could. We just didn't have an outlet to put them on, you know? That's when like eBAM's World and all those type of things.
Damn.
Newgrounds was the thing back in the day, right? So it's hard, man. Like you look at it, I've just always been interested in all of it, right? Like when Twitch 2014, I thought it was too late back then. Or I didn't see the monetization aspect of it then. Like, and my brother and I joke about it. It's like, dude, I was already on Twitch 2014. That's early, man. But you know, people were still on, generating a lot of views, but streaming wasn't normalized culture at that moment. Now streaming is mainstream, right? So it's all about sticking to it, being consistent. I think I'm fortunate to be like chronically online enough. And I think gaming has helped a lot because gaming is always like, it's always relevant. There's always a cycle of new things happening, right? So you're always kind of up to date on things, right? So that news has helped me like kind of, and then there's a subculture of gaming, and then streaming is now that subculture. So I could say that just because I was there early, I kind of know where to look now, right? Even in the film industry, that's like now you're seeing the intersect of creators, YouTubers with traditional media, and that's the gap that people are trying to bridge. Because I come from that creative world and because of the Mr. Beast and the Kai Cenats and all those type of things that are happening, like I'm seeing that transition. But how do I balance that now at a micro level and a macro level? Will I ever have the same kind of success as these people do? Probably not. But that's not I'm not ruling myself out. But you know, put me in a corner and I'll come out swinging.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure. And then also just to hop back to what we were talking about before the podcast started. You said you were doing things with Meta, and you showed us the glasses briefly before we started.
Yeah.
Have you guys been looking into AI and AR or XR capabilities and that type of media?
Yeah.
What is XR?
I mean, I guess XR is really just like another version of AR.
Augmented reality.
Yeah.
So my first take like on the Meta glasses, like I think the future is in wearables and wearables, because it's like, how do you seamlessly integrate technology in a way that is not just like looking at your phone at all times, right? Like I think if you look at everybody else, we're always looking at our phones like this. Zuck's theory, whether I agree with it or not, is like, how do I put them face up now, right?
Yeah.
Vision Pro tried that, whether it be unsuccessful or successful. Like people are trying. Wearable technology, especially like a glasses format, is probably like the way it's going to go. I'm just curious to see how they can integrate like, you know, the HUD, the HUD effects on it and see where it goes from there. So yeah, I think that's where technology is headed. But as far as AI to integration, I think it's going to come with everything. But people are like, oh, AI is going to take creative jobs. AI is going to take this thing. No, AI is going to take over your workflow.
Yeah.
If you can figure out right now how to use AI to speed up your workflow, you're already ahead. So, for example, I use it from my contracting perspective to drop, like, you know, SOWs, right? Right away. Then I have my legal team review it.
10
like,
seconds.
Exactly. But not just that. It's like, all right, so now there's new tools coming out, like in Opus AI. Like, how do you generate clips at a higher rate? Put this podcast in, and they generate like AI worth, like, you know, they give you 100 clips to review, and you review which ones you like best. Then you can download XML files and put them into Premiere and edit it yourself.
Crazy.
Wait, what do you use again to do the clips? What was the name of the software? The AI?
For Premiere?
Remember you said that there was like a clip, not the cutting up. Remember to make the clips.
On my phone? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be funny. Wait,
No,
are you talking about on Premiere, or are you talking about on my
the
phone?
clips that we made,
Yeah.
like the 30-second clips.
Yeah.
Did you use an AI software to make it, or at least help you make it?
No.
That was all manual.
Yeah, that was
wasn't there an AI software?
That was way too quick for. No, when we do the pod, there's a AI editor.
I know, like, it can
integrated
chop
into
up the
Yeah.
whole pod.
The
which is what we
problem
use.
with something like that is that while it makes the process easier, like it's still not editing to like if I do it, I'm gonna probably do it with this pod.
Sure.
And there'll be moments where you'll be talking, but for some reason it just cuts to him.
Okay.
You know, so then like even though it's done the trimming for me, I still kind of go back and I still, you know, you.
But
cut,
does it speed up your workflow though?
It's yeah. I think because I get a little picky on like, okay, maybe I can cut this out, maybe I cut, like AI is not gonna pick that up, but it's going to pick up the rhythm, I guess, of like
Sure.
of who's big. But for some reason, it has that setback that I'm still trying to figure out how to.
Well, that's just like
perfect.
because it's the first iteration of that tool, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it's like because if I'm doing a single cam setup on like a gaming setup, I know exactly where I'm going to look and what I'm going to do. So I'll just record in a vertical format with like the gaming setup on like an OBS or like a capture software, download that, put that up to like Opus Clip, and have them kind of just chop it down into bite-sized pieces, and they'll find maybe certain things that I may not have seen, right, from a clip perspective, right? They'll caption everything, which is cool because it just, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it helps my workflow because I can customize it.
Yeah, the caption's good. I like the caption. The caption is definitely the easiest one.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, you're referring to yesterday when I just imported the videos of you with the Cardellini, and it was on movie. It was on iMovie,
No.
but iMovie like edited it in a way where they put on this corny music. And
Yeah, well, that's what iPhones do all the time.
Yeah.
And Samsungs do that too.
And, like,
Yeah.
as soon as I put import footage, it starts just like, "Hi, I'm David Cardellini," and it's playing like this music, and then it like does this swish.
Yeah.
It's the nostalgia. It's the
Yeah.
nostalgia
It
aspect.
did something.
It
It
was-
made
That's
something.
also AI.
But you and I were both like, no.
No, absolutely not. But it's interesting to see like the tool
Yeah.
at least doing something that a human is doing, and almost just as good, but it just doesn't have that creative
like I said,
spirit. It needs to
Yeah.
be.
creators who know how to use AI to their advantage are going to be the ones that set themselves apart in the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about, oh, the AI is making my ideas. No, the AI is cultivating and helping you shape your ideas
It's
and formulating,
enhancing.
enhancing.
Yeah.
So people are like who are anti-AI right now. I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing? I guess that
It's
you
like
guys want to be
people who are
purists.
anti-internet, you know.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
the future is here. Whether it be as important as people are saying is like generative AI, or is it like this whole AGI coming out? Is it going to be something that's really prevalent? I think that if you don't use tools like this to help you enhance your workflow, like normally, like, how long will it take you to sift through like every clip and make selects? Probably like a couple hours. If this does
Yeah,
the same thing in 10 minutes, and then you can audit that work in the next hour, you'll save a couple hours.
I wanted to synchronize. If it could synchronize, maybe there's a way that I could do that.
You're talking about multicam synchronization,
Yeah,
right? That's
like-
the one thing I'm still like learning too.
Yeah, if it could do that, that would
Yeah.
be like extremely. So I'm gonna admit something to you guys. So I have been using ChatGPT to, because I realized it could do voice.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I was with him yesterday. He was making drinks and he was like talking to ChatGPT about flavors and stuff, and it was really funny. And and I was thinking, I was like, oh man, like he's the only person that I know that's been doing this. Like now when I write, like I have journals where I write all my ideas so I can go back to them.
Yeah.
But I do a thing where I tell I talk to ChatGPT out loud, and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking like I want to go with this route with this particular character, but I'm also thinking of flipping it over here. Can you like
Give me both options.
Yeah, can you hold that for me? And then like the other day I was going back on my notes, looking at my final draft, writing everything down, and then I said ChatGPT like, so this is what I got, and I read everything out loud, and then she had responded like, I think if you're gonna go
use a
this
female
route,
voice?
yeah, I think if you're gonna, I'm gonna use female voice for everything. Like I just provide like if I think if you're
Just
gonna go this
soothing.
way, you're gonna want to like think about your logistical options in terms of if this is real. Do you want your film to be like? Do you want it to be grounded in reality? It started saying things, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go this way. So now I've kind of ingrained this usage to in a way that's gonna help me, where I'm not looking at it and feeling like shame, because there is like this, especially in film, there's people like the whole thing with the Brutalists. So people are like, oh, they used like AI to like enhance the Hungarian accent. Does it really affect the performance? I don't think so. I thought it was a very good performance. I think it's touching on little discrepancies that no one's gonna really know too much about. It's just the headline name of like AI did this. AI didn't help me write. AI just helped me get organizational.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna enhance the workflow. Anyone who's like anti-AI is just like being like
a hater.
Super. Yo, let's be honest. Like, people use ChatGPT to help emails. Like, at this point in time, it's
that's
like
fine. But I also think like obviously like having a reliance on it is like, you know, not necessarily relying on anything is not great, right? But just using it to help. And like it's a tool, just like anything else, just like a light that we turn on. It just helps us kind of create circuitry amongst each other, right? Like, how do you like help enhance? Especially like, I cannot write 20 different contracts a day. I cannot make 20 different bid approvals a day. Like I can't. But with ChatGPT I can. With like AI I can. So how do you use it to help enhance your workflows, especially in this media landscape where everything is changing? How do you do that to write proposals out to basically build out things? That's what I'm doing. I use it just mainly as a tool to help my turnaround time from paperwork and being organized. How to organize ideas and thoughts also, right? I get a client brief come in. First thing I do is I take that brief, I put it into AI, and I was like, just build me out like a plan.
A summary.
A plan. Like, what are my next steps from a production pipeline that you know that the City Unlimited does? And so then I build out that plan. What's really cool is we have this new like meeting feature. Like any meeting that we have now, we let AI join the meeting. It takes all the notes from the meeting. It takes all the notes from the meeting.
What's the name of that?
And then we integrate it with Jira. Do you know what Jira is?
No.
A task tracker. So Jira is a task tracker. So it automatically populates our action items into Jira. So it's all to-do list. And then someone manually has to go in and assign all the tasks to somebody. It's called Fireflies AI. And so someone will join your meeting, or your Google Meet or your Zoom, take all the notes on it, and then automatically add your action items into Jira. So that basically your to-do list is already added
based
after
on
the
what
first
you
day.
say.
Exactly. You can edit it. You can obviously like fix it if there's something that's missing. Sometimes they'll like misinterpret things. But yes, my biggest thing for a long time was like, we are not taking enough notes during our meetings because we talk about so many things and we don't have any tracking of it. This does it for you.
You see, now we have when we have our bi-weekly things, we have a friend of ours, Malik. He comes in. It's like, what do you call those people at the courts? The
stenographer.
Yeah, it's like we have someone like that.
You don't need
like,
that anymore. Just hire Fireflies. It's a couple $1 a month and just do that. You'll be good, bro. They should pay me now because I'm talking about it.
Yeah, I was about to say this is an ad right here.
This should be one of the real clips.
Yeah, that's fine, bro. That's fine.
Maybe we get a sponsorship.
I mean, it works for me. It works for me. It's worked for me for a while. It's funny because like we pay for these things. We don't talk about these things. Maybe we should talk about why we're using it and why it's helping us. So,
Well, I would like to definitely see more, I guess, content on people finding ways to shed a good light into AI for filmmaking purposes, because it is like a bit of a back and forth dialogue in terms of like, oh, are you really right? I can't speak for anybody that uses it to like write a script. That's one thing. One time I tried it. I was like, I have this pitch, write me like 5 pages, let me see how it reads. And then I was reading, I was like, it reads like AI.
But have you tried to change the language? Like, can you make it more? You sort of
like the prompt.
How long have you been writing to AI for?
When did we get it? Since
it's been like a few months.
Last
summer.
So I had this phase where I was reading. Do you know Cormac McCarthy? So I've had this phase where I was just reading Cormac McCarthy shit, and then I was like, explain to me like explain to me like a desert character like walking, is looking for something, they get shot, whatever. Writes it down. I was like, no, I want you to describe like how you see like the fucking the heat waves, and I want the red dawn. I want Cormac McCarthy language. Here, I'm gonna throw some things at you, and I just started everything I highlighted. Then it wrote it down for me, but it has like somewhat a slight touch of McCarthy, but you could still read the language where it's like, oh, it sounds like someone's trying to be McCarthy.
You should say, can you make it more personable, more colloquial, like more human? And then the first thing you should say is like, write it in my style.
That would be interesting, because I don't even know what my style is tangents.
No, so here's the thing, right? Like AI, it's like always picking up things, right? So you go into it and be like, hey, like write it in the style that you think that I would write this in. And add like some of your writing prompts and your scripts.
Like just to share an image
of... not an image, just like share like your own writings to it too, and to kind of like formulate your own style and what your own identity is, and then see that exercise. I'm not saying this to be perfect, but that'd be like something cool to do. That's what I do. Like write this letter in my tone. You know, and like also ask for an assessment, a self-assessment from AI. Like, what do you perceive me as? And then it'll give you like, what does it think about you? Maybe in like a more grand thing.
So my friend yesterday, when he was making drinks, he's writing a show, and he took some references based off stuff I've told him, and he was like, "Can you explain?" Mid conversation, he was like, "Can you explain who Danny Enab is?" And then it started talking about me, and I was freaked out a little bit because it hit some touches. He's like, "Now, can you explain what is it that Danny Enab's looking for?" And then she said he also has it as a female voice, and then she started saying a bunch of stuff, and then I interjected and I put my stuff into it. I was like, "Can you explain to me Matt Hoff?" And then she went into yes, Matt. She went into this whole thing about Matt Hoff. We were both like drunk, but I was like, "This is fucked up. This is the future."
Yeah,
but this is kind of cool. I was like, "This is low key kind of cool." And then I started talking. I started telling her about David, and I was like, "Here, there's a couple of things you need to know about David."
Yeah. No, you didn't.
But it's a cool tool to
self-reflection.
Yeah, self-reflection. And to I like look at it more as just like an exercise. Like, okay, you know, this is gonna be prevalent as we get older. They're gonna try new ways to really enhance this stuff. Like, rather than deny it, like I don't need to use it to be an artist. I don't think that should be the thing. But I definitely agree with you in terms of like using it to help with the process and to also just just tap into like maybe it does something that it's gonna, like, for example, I was against the iPhone, shooting on iPhones. Now that we did it, we shot something yesterday. I colored it. I started going crazy with it. And I was like, wow, like this looks like the FX3. But I also think that has to do with the coloring. Sure. But now I'm like feeling a little bit more of, okay, you know, I can use this to my advantage because it can make my life easier to make content rather than like the other day I had to bring my tripod, I had to bring a Komodo, I had to bring all this shit with me. And it fucking sucks. And then it's like, okay, we could just set that up like this. Yeah. And all I have to do is just tell a good story. All I have to do is like craft something that's interesting. Like
it's all about what's in the frame.
Yeah.
Get it? In the frame.
In the frame.
That's how he wants to end that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Just make one pagers. I think for you, like especially ideas, take your writing concepts and throw them as one pagers, and then you could formulate that idea and you can sell it off one page. Right. So like a lot of like artists, they try to sell things off one script. Right, like a whole script. I mean, who's gonna read a script? Give me a one pager. Give me a one sheet. Especially a producer EP. Like give me a one sheet, a solid one sheet that I can read and just have.
It's like an elevator, 30-second elevator.
Yeah, have an AI.
Like
I have 30 seconds to pitch this idea to an exec. Give me it. Yeah. What's interesting? I built this whole deck for this concept that I'm working on. A whole deck, beautiful deck. I paid a designer, got it all situated. This sent it over to the agent. The agent loved it. He's like, yeah, good. But then he sent me calls up with all these production houses to like take on the project. And the first thing he says is like, don't talk about your deck. Don't talk about the deck. Don't even go over the deck. Just talk about the idea. And that's what we did. And the first time I talked through the deck, I showed the deck. I was like this. And I just knew I lost them. I lost them.
You did exactly what you weren't supposed to.
Yeah. And then he just sat me down. He's like, dude, just like you can sell it. Just sell it without the deck. And so I just talked about the idea that I was building and boom.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All the calls went completely different afterwards. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
Hell yeah. We have time.
I guess that's it.
12:07.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. We should wrap this up because we got to get to Jersey.
I bet. You got a shoot going on.
No, shoot. We're shopping.
Yeah.
Shopping for furniture, shopping for lenses.
You guys are adding some more shit, bro.
We're trying.
Ali, it was really great to have you on. I think this is like one of the very invaluable, very insightful conversation. Really cool to have you on.
No, man, you guys
Thank
are great.
you. So, just real quick, like what like any current projects you're working on right now that you're gonna get into like immediately? Or
I think we're working on a really cool campaign with like one of the biggest sports stars, and so if that works out, it works out. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. I think this year I really want to bridge that gap between the streaming world and then traditional media. I know that there's like a want for it from a network side. They just haven't found a way to fit. And I think like Beast Games has been the first iteration of that. But how do I do that from our own self? Whether it be like sports related. I want to do a lot of sports content this year. I'm a huge I'm a Knicks fan too. So.
Let's go!
You know what I mean, my man? Jay, we got two All-Stars, so we out here, dog.
We got two All-Stars in the All-Star game.
We all proud of New Yorkers, bro.
History has been made.
I was gonna
since 1975.
I was gonna wear my Nyan shirt, like my favorite New Yorker.
Oh, because they played tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
They're playing Sacramento Kings.
And my friend's a big Kings fan.
They gotta win.
So,
They gotta win Sacramento Kings.
I mean,
I'm
This is unvote.
This is my belief, real quick.
We gotta catch a game.
If they can't beat Celtics, or they can't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, or they can't beat OKC, if they can't beat Dallas, we're in trouble. and so far it's been a really weird season.
Yes, it's a weird
It's been
season.
like so. The ebbs and flows.
I'm
of
not
it
gonna
have
judge
been-
them till later. I think
Postseason, like everything with Cat's cool, but I need to see postseason. I
Sure.
need to see him doing the same like fucking triple doubles,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck. But yo, 2 all-starters. It's amazing.
It's
It
driving-
feels great.
Yeah.
Like I just
I'm just grateful we have a good team that I can watch because I've been watching.
the Knicks for yeah.
Like '99 was my first like real memory of the Knicks with like Spreewell.
And that was a good year.
Spreewell,
Great
Houston,
year.
like that's like the first one, and then
Truly the last great year.
But then watching, I know Isaiah Thomas come in and watching,
Marbury.
the Marbury era, which I feel for, and then you saw like
I love
bro, we
Steph,
had
yeah.
like Michael Sweetney. I don't know if you guys remember who Michael Sweetney is. Like we had like the most fringe NBA players, like the Eddie Curry.
Yeah,
of the
Eddie
world.
Curry. Yeah, Eddie.
And like there was so much hope in everything that we've ever done, and I think Knicks fans are like delusional. I think it's New York. New York is delusional.
Yeah, right now you have everyone saying.
We're like, yo, we're done.
I constantly find every year, ever since the Tibbs tenor started, I keep having these annoying conversations of just put and this is like going back, like put Cam Reddish in, put fucking
it's
like
always-
let's get the bench
We
going.
don't know what's going
you
on.
You pay $60 million for these guys. No, you pay to play. I don't believe in that fatigue bullshit. Yeah, I've Cat's on the court. He's a big man.
Yeah.
Go to the rim. I
It's
don't want to
back
hear
and forth.
Yo, Huckapori's gonna save us. Yo, put fucking Kolek. Like, what are these guys gonna do, man? These guys aren't bona fide like fucking superstars.
Listen, man,
it's the most frustrating thing of a Knick fan to hear.
It's like you're a solid DP or like a gaffer. Now I'm telling you how to light. Like it's like like Tibbs knows his job.
Yeah.
People know that. Let them do their jobs. And you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work out. But like, listen, they are paid to be the experts. I'm there as a fan to enjoy it. I'm not like we can analyze. Fans love to analyze.
Everyone's
but,
a critic.
But
yo.
stop. Yeah, everyone's a critic.
I do have one critique on him, just one, because I'm a big Tibbs guy.
Adjustments.
He needs to get a little bit more. He's one of those great coach that sticks by his script no matter what the fuck happens. He needs to like expand. He needs to get a little experimental.
Needs to be a little open-minded.
He's
Little open-minded,
Yeah,
that's
he's
exactly
a little.
what it
He's a
is.
little. He's a little too. It's the same. Every time they show him,
Yeah.
every time they cut to him, it's the same. He's always
Yeah.
doing this. It's like, yo, you just gotta like learn to.
Well, but that's what we see from an external camera angle. We don't know what's internally.
I would love to see the internal. I want to make a movie about the Knicks. Like,
That's funny.
I have like 2 books on them. Like I do. I would love. I think when you compare like a movie crew, when you compare a team, I really think like GM's fucking a franchise is like the best comparison. You build your best fucking core.
Yeah.
We're not even close yet. The Knicks are not even close yet, but they will be in 2 years. 2 years gonna win a chip. I'm saying right now, 2 years gonna win a chip.
Look at that. Yeah. He got that on camera.
Yeah, there you go. We'll put
Appreciate
that as a clip.
Yeah.
And we'll send it to the fucking Knicks.
Fuck yeah. But
Ali,
is there anything
where
else?
could they find you?
Yeah.
People
I
want to reach
got on
out to you.
Instagram, Defy the City. I've been on like trying to get my TikTok going, so Defy the City. Oh, Defy the City everywhere, bro.
Defy the
but
City.
yeah, the City Unlimited, social presence is growing. We're out here. Do a lot more content this year. It's interesting. Maybe we'll do something in December at the end of the year. So talk about the year that we had since it's the first one.
Shit,
Maybe we
okay.
could do something like that. That way it's like the recap at the end.
Hell
and
yeah.
See where we are. I have like social goals. I have like obviously company goals. And we can talk about what worked, what didn't work. Are we going to do it? Are we not? And I love it, man.
Yeah.
You guys are family, so it
Yo,
works
I
out.
appreciate you. I would
Appreciate
love
y'all.
for you to come back as well
Thank
in
you,
due
man.
time. Let's do it.
Great first episode of the year.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm super excited to put this together. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
everybody.
man. Pleasure.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.